night has come. Welcome everyone to the 5th annual Archangel's Den, brought to you by Downing Street Partnerships. My name is Michael Bukaich. I have my own startup, Iceberg Cyber, and I'll be your MC tonight for what is our biggest event. In the hallowed halls of St. Michael's College School, a new chapter unfolds, heralding not just academic prowess, but a profound commitment to social betterment. The Archangel's Den, our latest initiative, epitomizes the school's ethos of service and unity. Here, our distinguished alumni come together to nurture and mentor budding entrepreneurs among their ranks in a collective endeavor to create a more progressive and connected world. Embarking on a journey of collective impact, the Archangel's Den is more than an entrepreneurial incubator. It's a testament to our collective resolve to make a tangible difference in the world. Through this program, 6 innovative startups, each led by St. Mike's alumni, are not only pursuing commercial success, but are also championing causes that resonate with our shared social values of responsibility and communal growth. We're giving away the largest cash prize we have in the history of the Archangel's Den. First place is getting a whopping $10,000. Second place, $3,500. And third place, $1,500. Now, if you'll join me, let's throw it over and see our first contestant. There are those among us all that have the itch to see how tall they stand, constantly searching for that next measuring stick, always a little further. Our next contestant is building a media empire around his own story, seeking the limits of human achievement. Give it up for world record holder, Connor Emeny.
Hello, Archangels. My name is Connor Emeny, and today I'm here for a $10,000 investment in my film, Chasing Antarctica. It's a true story based on my life for the last 3 years, aiming to do something that's never been done before, the first person in human history to do an Ironman triathlon on all 7 continents. So before I get into the business opportunity, I want to give you a little taste of what this film is all about.
We have an incredible athlete leading us today. Ultra runner Connor Emeny has a goal, not only to complete an Ironman on every continent, but also to be the youngest person in the world to do it.
The local man who has traveled the world competing is about to embark on the biggest journey of his life. What do you say to yourself to get through it when the going gets really tough? What's your inner mantra to yourself?
With no experience, Connor began competing in the Ironman. He's now training for his 6th race, this time in Brazil.
You're going to Brazil. Good luck on the race, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you once you complete that and break a new world record.
Connor Emeny, the youngest person in the world to do an Ironman, all 6 kilometers from Canada. Congratulations, Connor!
What do you want to know?
I think let's start out with who you are and what are you trying to do. What are you trying to accomplish in the next year?
I'm Connor Emeny, and I recently became the youngest person in the world to complete an Ironman on 6 continents, and going for the first person in the world to do one on 7 continents. In January 2024, I'll be heading to Antarctica to complete what I'm calling an ultra triathlon, which is a 3.8 kilometer swim, 180 kilometer ride, and a 52 kilometer run. Antarctica is going to be the hardest race I've ever done. The unknowns are pretty scary. So in Antarctica, as long as I don't go hypothermic, go into shock, or my body fails, I'm going to push my mind to its absolute limit because I don't know what that is yet, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to find out what it is. I'm doing Antarctica because I have to. I need to look inside of myself and see what I'm capable of accomplishing. And this story and my story is to help other people out there feeling the same way I feel realize that they have the power to accomplish whatever they can imagine. So now that you got a little bit of an insight into who I am and what the last 3 years of my life have looked like, just want to tell you a few more little things about me. I graduated from Mike's in 2014, recently came back and spoke to the school at the athletic banquet about my story of daring to dream and what it takes to go all in on your dreams. Outside of sport, I'm a part of Movember Foundation, where we are part of a group that raises money and awareness for men's health, something that I think is a prominent issue in today's society. And as we just saw, I am an athlete and at the core, an optimist. But enough about me, I want to talk about the opportunity in the business market right now for film. So in 2023, April, only a few months ago, there was a new bill passed by the Canadian government mandating all of the broadcasting and major streaming distribution channels to have a percentage of Canadian content increase on their platforms. This is the first time and huge move since 1991 that this bill has been legislated, that any progress has been made, which is shown in the lack of Canadian content on these platforms. On these platforms alone, up until this point, there's only been little as 2% of Canadian content from Canadian production companies on these big screens, which is way behind the industry standard across the world. In Europe alone, there's 30% quotas achievements, where in Europe you have to have content produced and funded products from there to be on the streaming platforms. So with this new rule over the next 5 years, companies are mandated to pledge money into Canadian stories and into Canadian content. And Netflix is paving the way by pledging $500 million over the next 5 years into Canadian funds. So the other opportunity that I see is the increase in demand for documentaries and real stories. The global documentary and TV fund was valued at $11.2 billion in 2021. And by 2027 is projected to go to $15.2 billion. So there's a huge increase in demand for specifically documentaries on TV and large-scale distribution companies. So needless to say, the demand for Canadian stories is at an all-time high, and the demand for documentaries of real people doing real things is also at an all-time high. So my solution is to create a documentary working with one of Canada's top production studios based out of Vancouver and bring my story to the big screens. As you can see here, you might have even seen these movies on Netflix or heard of them, 14 Peaks, Hold Your Breath, or Free Solo. These films have sold from anywhere from $5 to $29 million. So we believe that we have a great opportunity to capitalize not only on the need, but on a film that we feel can be produced and streamed in a similar tonality about an individual person conquering whatever it takes to realize their dreams and make an impact for many people. I personally believe the world is a really hard place right now with all-time, mental health challenges, wars, pandemics, and that dreamers give people hope. And we need more people now than ever that are dreamers and go all in on their dream. So the execution of this film, I've been working on it for the last 3 years. We've been documenting the 6 races, and now I head out in 3 weeks to Antarctica for my final voyage, which is a 3-week expedition on a sailboat from Ushuaia, the southernmost city in South America, across the Drake Passage, the most dangerous waters in the world, to Antarctica to complete something that's never been done before. And this is the most critical part of the business opportunity, is capturing the highest quality possible footage. And the $10,000 from this event will be going to bringing a certified drone pilot. And so we can capture unique content from different angles under the water as well as above the water, which will be a unique perspective that distribution channels want to see to bring to the big screens. So once Antarctica is completed, we have plans with the production company, which I'm not allowed to say for privacy reasons, to get in conversations with the largest distribution channels, which we are already currently in with some of them, and really shop this product around to see what the best fit is for the largest screen that we can possibly find. So the overall goal for me is to not only get it to the big screen, but to come back to this stage and show it to all the St. Mike's kids that I think need to see it now more than ever, that somebody of their own has gone out, took a chance, left their corporate job, went all in on this project, given 3 years of their life to realize and show them what else is possible. So my team right now, I feel honored to have by my side, are some of the best in the business and some of the best in the world. From the far side, we have Doug, who has been to Antarctica more than anybody on the planet, and he has been an advisor on safety measures in order to make sure that I'm doing this properly in the most environmentally least impactful way, and abiding by all the safety precautions. To beside him is Alejo, who is the first South American to summit Mount Vincent, as well as the top-tier expedition guide on the ground in Antarctica. Sadly, he had a heart attack 2 weeks ago and is no longer with us, but I'm here doing it in honor of him as well. And then in the middle two are two really talented videographers who have created content for some of the biggest brands you can think of, from Arc'teryx to beer brands to the Tourism Board of Canada. And then on the far right are two of my advisors and mentors, John Ragg and Elizabeth Model. John has done the most Ironmans out of anybody on the planet, and so is his partner Elizabeth. He's done 271, she's done 109, and they've been advising me on this project all along. So with that being said, I'm excited to be bringing forth my concept to you. I'm so excited to be doing something as a world first and have a Canadian story hit the Canadian platforms in 2025. Thank you.
Wow, Connor. Compelling story. If that doesn't give you goosebumps, your blood's as cold as the water you're going to swim in. All right, let's throw it now to the judges for a little Q&A.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
Okay, so I get to go first, thank God, just to start it off, because I'm overwhelmed by your story. It's amazing.
Thank you.
As a mom of two boys, one that's currently here and one that has graduated, I love your story, and I'm really happy to share it again to my son. I guess my question to you is, what you see here, I mean, it's obvious. It seems like this is such a great story. This is such a great benefit that you're going to bring. And let's go through as if you're successful today. You receive the money. You go through this. What does that look like for you? Like, this is the beginning of the 7th. What do you want to do with this story after, if you were successful today and we were able to provide the dollars?
Yeah, great question. I think to me, it's really a launch pad for more. I think, I envision myself creating a Connor Emeny Inc. media platform. And I've thought about writing a book, currently writing that, motivational speaking around the world, and working with brands on creating content and user-generated content that actually really matters and is real and relatable to a younger demographic. So for me, I think that the film is really the golden ticket to solidifying, a platform to create a better impact in the world.
Forward to watching on Netflix.
Thank you.
What an amazing story. I'm honored to be sitting here in front of you, actually. And thank you for bringing your story to the world and advocating for mental health as well. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I do want to talk about the investment opportunity, and would love to better understand how much it costs from this point to the finish line, in terms of capital or other financial requirements.
Yeah, so the Antarctica portion is costing about $60,000. However, we believe that the full production will cost around $300,000, and that's being invested in through private investors, brand partnership deals, and own sweat equity from myself over the last 3 years. And from our understanding that it'll take $300,000, we believe that there's been offers for $1.5 million plus for similar stories. That is a conservative guess on what we think we could sell the product for.
And how are you going to fund the rest of it? There's $10,000 available from this program.
Yeah.
What is the financing plan for the rest of it?
Yeah, so there's private investors that are interested in the story, as well as the production company I mentioned that is a full-fledged production company. They sold films to Netflix, Sony, Paramount Plus, and some of Canadians broadcasters like TELUS Studios, et cetera. So they're also investing capital into the film.
They've committed, or are there soft commitments?
Yes, yeah, they've committed. I can't say how much, but they've been working with me for the last several months on capturing footage, capturing documentaries, interviews with John and Elizabeth that have recently shown, and really getting the buildup of the story. However, the most critical portion is Antarctica and funding that to the best possible caliber. So I have a space for one more videographer to come, and that's going to cost over $10,000 to bring him. So.
My question is still kind of related to Christina's in that this is, I think we're looking to fund businesses and not movies. And I see you have Connor Emeny Inc. here.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Because it seems like you're using the movie as a launch pad to do that. Yeah. Is there any way like you can compare it to who's like done this successfully in the past?
Yeah, for sure. I think at the core, the movie is a business in its own realm. I think movies are it's just similar to a product like somebody else might be pitching. A film is a very viable business investment with a massive return. So I think that definitely has merit on its own. However, I do see your point with Connor Emeny Inc. And I've created brand partnerships for different companies already that are investing in me as a person. So for example, I did a film for Arc'teryx where it was the world's first summiting 3 peaks in Vancouver. We documented, created brand content they share on their social media pages, or another one for a company called DJI, which is one of the top drone companies based out of Asia. And those budgets have been upwards of $50,000 US. So I think there's an opportunity for telling real stories with real products or real brands and creating a unique value sell of what we can do from an athlete perspective. And then some of the other brands here like KPMG, when the world shut down and they were trying to engage their employees, they reached out to me to lead group workouts virtually for a series of X amount of months. So I think there's an opportunity to really, develop Connor Emeny Inc. into something larger.
If I could ask a follow-up, could you maybe break down how movie financing works? I'm not quite sure, and like how you put the money in, but what comes out and how's that split?
Yeah, so there's many different ways. A traditional way is private investors would put up the capital, or the production company would invest capital through a financier. And similar to an investment in like a company, they would take like an equity stake. So for example, they put in $200K, they would get a percentage ownership of the end result. Say we sold the film for $1 million, they would get a 50% stake. So they would make $500K on their investment. And then the more investors that get involved, it's like a waterfall kind of trickle effect on how the equity deal is broken down. So that's the typical structure for a film. Where it gets more complicated is the more parties that are involved. And so right now we're hoping to do it with one productions house that can do the full-fledged production from sound design, film, everything from marketing, the production, et cetera.
The Ironmans that you did in the other 6 continents, they were organized events?
Correct.
Competition?
Yeah.
Is Antarctica an organized event?
No, so it's a world first kind of independent challenge. One person has done something similar in Antarctica as a triathlon, so he proved that it is possible. However, it took 3 days, so I'm trying to do it in 1 day, and it would be first on all 7 continents.
How do you want me to feel after I won?
I want your son, I want you to tell your son about it, and I want you to feel that he is capable to do whatever he can imagine. I stumbled across triathlon. I didn't grow up doing triathlon. I YouTubed how to swim. It was an idea where I just wanted to do one, and I realized the power of who it turned me into after the first. And I did my first one in New Zealand with both of my brothers. From there, one of my brothers has battled with addiction and is no longer able to really do an Ironman, and that kind of like really threw me back of like, how can you go from this specimen of an athlete to not know how tomorrow's going to look? And I think it's a story about human potential, human endurance, and never giving up. So hopefully inspired.
Great questions by the judges. I had a couple that they answered along the way. I also know another SMC grad, the 3-time Emmy Award. So I understand a little bit about the business, and thanks for some of the clarification there because it wasn't clear initially, so it's great. I actually had a question less about the business side of it, but around the safety side of it in terms of how the heck are you going to do this? I think I saw a little bit of it, but if you can kind of, completing that successfully is obviously the linchpin to this being finalized.
Yeah.
So can you talk to me around your safety protocols and, that's something that would be very important, which I know you're aware of, but I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah, for sure. I think safety is paramount. So we'll have 2 certified medics that'll be with me on this trip. I've been training in the cold for over 1.5 years specifically, building my tolerance. I went to Greenland in October to do the polar ice marathon to test gear, layers, and how my body would react to minus 16-degree temperatures. So in terms of training, we had a series of races and cold training where we would cut out ice lanes to simulate the water temperatures. But safety is paramount. The swim is the major concern. Obviously, there's wildlife, and you're not sure what can happen there. However, our protocol is to have a Zodiac, which is like a little inflatable boat that'll be beside me, and then a kayak beside me on the other side. I have a custom wetsuit that I'll be wearing that will help me stay normalized temperatures. Still cold, but as normal as it can be. And then there's a paste, it's kind of disgusting, but it's like whale fat that you'd put on your skin that creates a layer between you and the water to prevent any like direct potential frostbite on. Really, the only exposed layer is my nose or my mouth. And yeah, there'll be 6 people observing the feat with people ready to pull me out at any time for any possible safety concern.
Yeah, good luck. God bless.
Thank you. And then this is Giovanni Marseco you're talking about? Yeah, so I talked to him about the film, and I think this goes into the advisory portion. I've been seeking out the best advisors from how to best, get a film to the big screen, to Doug, who's been to Antarctica and done expeditions, to safety, to the Ironman legends, of like what it really takes. They've been to Antarctica and done a marathon there. So I've been trying to seek out as much guidance and support along the way as I possibly can. It's been challenging as a one-man team, trying to be the athlete, the marketing, and everything else. But nonetheless, it's been rewarding, and I've learned a lot about myself, business, entrepreneurship, and hopefully, can turn this into something that we can help other people realize their dreams as well.
Quick question, you got 30 seconds.
Okay, sorry, it was just more around your current presence now on social media and your following. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm active on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Strava. I used to manage social media for a large sports company, so I'm pretty familiar with that. And I've been on Global News, Breakfast Television. Over 10 million people have heard about the story organically. So there's been no paid media around it. However, with the investment, I think that we can reach a whole new demographic of people as well.
Story out.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time.
Very cool, Connor. I think most people, when they get excited, they say they're at the top of the world. But if you're excited in 4 weeks, you want to be at the bottom of the world.
Yeah.
Everyone laugh at that one.
That's good. That's good.
All right, great work, Connor. We're going to ask you to go chill backstage as we do the rest of the contestants.
Good pun. I like it.
There's going to be more puns coming.
All right. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Michael.
Let's get personal and dive into some quick intros with our judges.
Christina Bludgeoning, Medical Director at Johnson & Johnson, and I'm really looking to better understand the impact of these companies and what they can bring.
I'm Rowan Komish. I do product analytics at Ground News, and I want to know these companies' go-to-market strategy.
My name is Ralph Montemuro. I own Monty Design Furniture. Very interested in product viability.
Hi, I'm Davide Viola. I'm the CEO of Health First Network, Canada's largest retail group of independent retailers. And I'm really interested in operational blueprints and scalable business strategies.
Will G has 20 years of experience in the finance industry and is currently the Director of Equities at Twin River Capital. He's an active angel investor and business advisor to early-stage companies in both the mental health and climate industries.
Now we've got the easy stuff out of the way. Let's reset these spotlights and get our contestants front and center. Every business is looking to get sticky with customers. Drum up enough buzz, and you can excel in the market. This contestant is spreading his wings to combine ancient technology with our modern palates. It's my pleasure to introduce Drake Kaminsky from Hive Meadery.
How are you guys doing today? My name is Dr. Drake Kaminsky. I am a optometrist by trade, but for the last year and a half, I have been working on what I like to call the art of fermentation. So without further ado, this is my company, Hive Meadery. So I want you guys to all level with me here for a sec. We are, you walk into the LCBO because you want to spruce up your local gathering, Thanksgiving, Christmas, etc. And we're just absolutely spoiled for choice. And for most of us, the untrained palates, a red is a red, as a white is a white, and you go in, you have no idea what to grab, so you just grab the first thing off the shelf, and you come back 6 months later and that same bottle is on your friend's mantle again, just untouched because it doesn't really appeal to anybody. Not to mention, same thing, beer nowadays, you're looking at the labels, it's got kittens and fireworks, and I just want an IPA, or I just want something simple. So, we're just absolutely spoiled for choice, and nobody knows, what kind of direction to go, sort of thing. And also, same thing, go in the grocery store, you read the labels nowadays, there's an essay list of chemicals, dyes, natural flavors, which aren't actually, what they claim to be. And, some other problems I've kind of noticed over the past little while is we've kind of forgotten our roots. A lot of us all kind of come from strong immigrant backgrounds, and everybody these days is focused on cheap and cheerful. I noticed it in the eye care industry myself, and kind of forgotten the little guy. And finally, not too many people are aware of this, but we had a huge decline in the bee population the last few years. And some of you thinking, why does that matter? Well, about 1/3 of every single bite of food that kind of goes into our mouths comes from some sort of pollinator. So this is kind of where I've kind of come in to tackle all these problems with my company. So what the heck is mead? In its simplest, it is honey, water, yeast. I mean, you've probably heard of ambrosia, the nectar of the gods. Mead is probably one of the oldest fermented beverages. The nice thing is it's super duper versatile because it has its fingers in all the kind of alcoholic pies. You want, wine? I got it. We can do, it's called a Paim. You want cider? We got it. It's called a cider. You want beer? We got it. It's called a brega. And if you really, really want to get fun, I can do a peanut butter and jelly mead if that, piques your fancy. So what I'm trying to do is just amalgamate all the problems into one solution. Work on the bee population, work with local farmers. I handpicked the blueberries myself for some of the meads. What I would like you guys to do is have some of the samples that I've outlined there for you. Start off with the one in the middle. That's just a traditional mead. That's just at its simplest. It's used with a New Zealand-based honey, and then just work your way down. Have some fun with it, and hopefully you guys at least like something out of there. This is the label I was kind of going for, just simple, effective, timeless, and ultimately legible, in my opinion. It's something that I came up with first and foremost, and it worked really well for us. So my target kind of market, I live in Auburn, in New York. Not too many people have heard of it, but you've heard of Syracuse, I presume, big kind of college town. It is kind of all-encompassing from Rochester area to Utica, what we call the Finger Lakes. The Finger Lakes is essentially the Okanagan of the US. It is huge, huge, huge wine country where I live. And so the Finger Lakes produces probably about 90% of New York State wine. There's a ton of foot traffic every single year, but there's only 3 meaderies in the entirety of the Finger Lakes district. And if you look at some of the lakes and the wine tours that they have available, the longest circuit is about 40 kilometers. There's about a winery on pretty much every single corner kind of thing. So again, a lot of people in there, 504 craft breweries, tons of wineries, tons of cideries, but a huge market gap that needs to be kind of filled. And the nice thing about New York within the last kind of few years, probably the last decade I would say, is there is a lot more funding, grants, et cetera, to help build up these small businesses and get more microbreweries in. So kind of my sales plan, let's say, is to start very, very small scale, what we call like a nano brewery. I'm not giving up my day job just yet. I would like to start working with, farmers markets. There's a massive one in Syracuse, the Central New York one, it's called, and then gain some traction in that regard. I have all the equipment to start off on a nano scale and just kind of test the waters, test people's palates, see what they like. I have, since I've been there for about 3 years, already started talking with different restaurants and seeing if this is a product that they would like to take on. A lot of good positive feedback from them. And I have some potential, interest for pre-orders at some point in time. Also, it would be good to get a chance to wholesale with certain, bars and tap rooms too. I would eventually like to move on to the more kind of like micro brewery stage, which is having your own kind of tap room, having a flagship store. The world's kind of your oyster with this. You can kind of go as small or as large as you want. A big problem we see is a lot of people, they like to throw a couple $100,000 into a brewery because they're proverbial home brewer, and as a result they are in a massive amount of debt and they just think they could have scaled it at that rate, but they didn't manage to. So kind of slow and steady. And then long story short, something that's fantastic about upstate New York is local really likes to support local. So you will see some big retail partnerships with some of our local grocers like Wegmans. They will take on some of the more favorable breweries in the area. So that is kind of when you made it and you have a good backing, when you can kind of get into them. So some of my kind of recent accomplishments, I've been entering kind of competitions on a regular basis, and this is actually super important because it helps when it comes to financial backing. A lot of banks now in the area, they have budgets to help with startup microbreweries, but they want to see that you have a decent product and that if you can have an award-winning product, it does really help. So the most important one is probably the most recent, the 2023 one. The last one that you guys are going to sample, my pièce de résistance, I think, is my maple bourbon barrel-aged mead. It won a silver medal at what's called the Mazer Cup. That is the, pardon me, hands down the largest international competition. That you get 500 plus applicants and obviously only 3 winners per category. There's very limited categories as it is. And finally, I did a little bit of a pilot tasting night one time with a local tavern that was I was in talks with. I think for one evening, a couple hours, brought my stuff, brought some of the maple syrup that you guys are going to try. That was a little adventure in itself, and just some T-shirts, stickers. In probably 3 or 4 hours, made a couple $100. It was actually kind of successful in my opinion because it's the first time I ever did this, and actually built the network, which is a little bit more invaluable to me, of some of the local bar managers in the area that came and again haven't had mead quite like the way I'm trying to make it, which is just kind of off the wall, something a little bit different. You're not just going to have a peach or a strawberry. It's going to be strawberry, tequila, aged, lime, whatever you name it. Just having some fun with it, something a little bit creative. So some of my, let's say milestones, projections for, the 2024 year. Obviously, if you guys have a look on the sheet in front of you, it'll kind of list things a little bit more in depth. But I would really like to get into about 5 to 10 more competitions. They say that it's good to have at least 10 medals under your belt, and especially if your recipes can, medal multiple times over, so it's not just a fluke. Same thing, bank a good amount of recipes. It's nice to have flagship recipes and then have a rotating menu just to spice things up, keep people interested. I'm going to obviously continue my networking. I have a bunch of restaurants that are quite interested, some of them in probably the more affluent areas of my neighborhood. One of the areas is called Skinny Atlas, and you guys may have heard of a small band. They're called Metallica. They actually have a lead singer who lives there, so it just tells you the demographic that lives in that area. So they're a fantastic, potential partner for me. Ultimately, get some pre-orders going, and then I'm looking at opening up in 2025 roughly. So the biggest hindrance for me, unfortunately, is that I am working on my green card at the moment. I'm not allowed to run a business. I can only be a shareholder. So in the meantime, I'm just working behind the scenes to kind of garner some traction. Eventually, when I get my green card, which is looking early 2025, then I can kind of hit the ground running sort of thing. There are some other potential things in the works that I'm working on to kind of navigate those waters. I'd be happy to answer some questions about that at some point in time, but If the plans are subject to change, obviously, depending on where I end up, let's say, or how the timeline goes as far as the green card. Obviously, with your backing, the commercial lease is the most important for me. You cannot get an alcohol license without a commercial lease. Obviously, we know real estate these days is uber expensive, and it would really help kind of offset some of that anxiety, let's say, and pilot things on a nano scale. And obviously, if I can get that out of the way in a different route, it can help with licensing costs, stock, etc. So obviously, if you don't like me, hopefully you like my mascot, my French Bulldog, Benny. But thank you guys so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed some of it at the very least. But looking forward to your questions.
All right, Doc, that was sweet. Now, for a little change of pace, we're going to throw it over to the judges for some questions. Be careful, some of these are going to be stingers.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, quick question for you on the financial side. Like, what does it cost to produce? What would this sell?
So the nice thing is the margins are really good on just alcohol in general. Obviously, it depends on what your goal is. So there's different styles of mead. You can have what's called a session mead. That's a lower alcohol content mead. And you can have a more wine style. So let's just say rough metrics. If I wanted to make a gallon of a session mead, the honey, because I work with a lot of local farmers and hobbyists, I get my honey for about $2.50 a pound. Most people, for reference, you'll see honey for like $10 to $20 a pound. Water, negligible. I mean, $1 for a gallon of spring water. Yeast, also negligible, 25 cents, let's call it, for the gallon batch. So talking about $3.50 for a gallon, you can get about 10 cans of session mead. So $4 American, per. You've done really good and come out quite on top, high on that. So let's call it $40 for sessions if you want to add a little bit more honey. So now I want to make like a wine style. Same thing, negligible cost. You add an extra pound of honey to it, but now I can sell those bottles depending on what you put in for, again, I've seen some people, they'll sell, depending on the type of honey that you use too, depending on how you age it, what type of yeast you use, etc. Somewhere from 25 to sometimes almost $100 for a bottle, a 375 ml bottle of mead. Some of your more zealous meaderies, so some of them out in the California and stuff, they are just printing money kind of thing. They are, like I said, overzealous, but somehow manage to sell bottles for $120. They age a bunch of different styles, but as I said, profit margins are very, very good when it comes to mead.
Is the hopped the one that won the award?
Hopped one, that one didn't win the award?
The best of them all.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Why are you in the US right now?
I'm in the US just because basically my degree took me there. Okay. I started off in England, ended up getting a work degree, my degree in Boston, transferred my UK license, and then just ended up in upstate New York. Got a really good job.
So there's only 3 meaderies in the area where you live?
Correct.
So why only 3, and why are you better than those 3?
Why only 3? I have no idea, because the nice thing about New York is you have what's called farm licenses now. So if X amount % of your product is from New York, you can actually get a license pretty simple, pretty quickly, and pretty inexpensively. What I think makes mine better, well, firstly, one of the meaderies that I went to was actually great. Their mead was fantastic. They slapped their labels on, they printed them off, and they slapped them on with Scotch tape. So it just kind of looked very...
The branding is great.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Poor presentation. The other meadery took my claim to fame. They opened up actually in Auburn, where I live, down the street from me. But again, same thing. The feedback has been very, very poor because they only do one style of mead. So they do the Paim, what we call it. So it's like a wine style. So they're trying to go for like a, cooler. They also use just flavorings. So they're not using natural ingredients, and it shows. If you ask somebody to taste test a mead that has vanilla flavoring versus vanilla bean, people will pick it out 100% of the time, because you can tell when people use flavorings versus when they're using actual natural ingredients.
Mm-hmm. And how far are you from Ithaca?
Only an hour. So again,
I can see this as something catching on to college.
Yeah, college town. So Cornell, obviously, and then you got Syracuse. You got the Syracuse Orange. So you the Finger Lakes basically extends from, like I said, Rochester all the way down south possibly to like Ithaca, maybe just a little bit before, and then all the way to Utica area. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the New York. Yeah.
Sorry, last one. What's the alcohol level?
Depends. Some of them are 15%. Some of them are lower, like 7 to 8%. So the hopped one that you like was only about 6%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
First, I do want to say congratulations on the silver medal. That's
Thank you.
amazing. I agree. I love. I actually would keep this just on my shelf unopened because it's so attractive.
That's not the point. I appreciate it.
I also don't drink alcohol, so unfortunately wrong
So
audience.
then, go ahead. You ask your question first, and I'll jump in. But
Yeah, and my question really to you is, how does this pair with food? And is there something specific that, because I don't know this space, so apologies.
Yeah.
But how would you reach out to restaurants, and how would this pair on their menu?
Absolutely. So I have a sweet tooth, and what I would really like to do, my goal was to set up a dessert flight. So I am the last thing that you taste before you leave the restaurant. That is kind of my goal. I want to set up like a dessert flight of mead, kind of using seasonal ingredients, pardon me, and probably do like 4 or 5, and just again let people taste just exclusive and seasonal products. But on your take about alcoholic drinks, the nice thing about honey, again, super versatile. And one thing I have been kind of foraying into is the non-alcoholic side of things, so that, if I can sell that before, gain some traction that way. People do what's called like honey soda. You've heard of kombucha, but the honey version is called June. So you use honey instead of just refined sugar. There's also like kefir water is a new thing that's coming into style. So you can use honey as a fermentable sugar in all of those. And you can keep it at a low amount. So it ferments in theory, and you have like an active culture, but you don't have enough alcohol to call it alcoholic, let's say. So I was also considering those as another potential.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, I would cook with it for sure. It smells great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ice wine is a competitor.
I would say, yeah, ice wine is probably on par. But as I said, ice wine can only be harvested at a certain time, and I don't think it's as versatile, right? People aren't flavoring their ice wines; rather getting an apple ice wine or like a Perry kind of ice wine sort of thing.
Yeah, I have a question. You talked about you walk into the LCBO and you don't see a lot of mead there.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get more people drinking it? Like, who's drinking mead right now? Because it seems very niche.
It is niche, but it is also kind of coming into style. It's being advertised heavily. You'll see like video games and stuff like Skyrim. They put mead into the game. You're also starting to see like more trigger words like honey brew, and I think also people are, I'll say, younger generations are a little bit more climate conscientious, right? So I think people are looking for something that is regenerative, and so I think mead is one of those. As far as how I think I can personally get them to drink more mead, tough to say. I don't really have the greatest answer for it, but that's why I try to really make something attractive and eye-popping, so at least it gets somebody looking at it and reading the label, and then somebody who, as I said, is so fatigued with wine and cider, they might want to just try something different. And hopefully, as I said, having something where I'm like, hey, you like blueberry, but you never had like a blueberry sage mead before, they might be willing to try that and give it a shot, and hopefully like something a little bit different in style.
Just a quick question on the, because when I think of mead, I think of when I watch TV shows, Vikings, or drink mead, and like
yes.
That's what's in my head. So this is obviously more of a dessert positioning?
Again, I made more dessert wines because most of your session meads are carbonated, and I don't have the capacity to carbonate at the moment. You need like a decent amount of equipment for it. So
do you see that as an opportunity, like to compete with craft breweries?
Absolutely. So a lot of your meaderies now are kind of getting into the session meads because of the fact that they the section meads, you can basically ferment it in a week's time because it's very, very low alcohol content. One of the biggest ones in London, actually, they do about only 2 to 3% alcohol. So they're just pumping them out on the regular, and they're just doing traditional style meads. So just, nothing added to it. It is also a lot more attractive for people to kind of, again, steer clear of like the Viking sort of vibe. I am part of some groups where people are all have that Renaissance fair kind of mindset, but you are seeing people attracted to mead if it has a different spin on it, right? So it doesn't have that Viking, it's not called Odin's tincture or whatever, Loki's poison. So people are more, again, willing to try it because they're like, oh, I didn't realize you could take an adult spin on this beverage. I didn't realize it, could come in different styles, sort of thing. So a lot of meaderies are just naming their products something fun and flavorful. And one of the biggest ones in Arizona, they do that. And they started as a mom and pop shop. I think their revenue for like 2018 was like 2.6 million, and they've just been growing massively since. Within the last year, they opened up like a second location, and my shoes, they started off as a mom and pop, previously home brewing.
Is there any movement in the industry about changing the term mead to something else?
So the problem is in Ontario, they don't call it mead because mead is very, very difficult to get an alcohol license for in Ontario. You have to own about 100 hives or lease them. I'm not too sure how that works. But no, mead, obviously when people think mead, they think of like the
you mentioned honey brew.
People are doing that because they're trying to skirt
I think it's all marketing. It's all how you sell it. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I like the term mead because I just think it is traditional. And when people hear meadery, they hear that it comes from the bees, right? When people, and it is, like working, like, let's say small business, you're helping like farmers and stuff like that, which, backbone, I think, of the country, in my opinion. But when people hear honey brew, they go, okay, it's a beer or it's a beverage and it's just sweetened with honey, which is a lot what these what honey brew places are doing. Same thing, ciders are doing it too. They'll add honey. They'll say sweetened with honey. So it defeats the purpose, in my opinion. So I'm kind of like just calling it meadery.
I have a question. Yeah. What is your current setup? What does that look like, and how big does it need to get in order for this to come like a full-fledged business?
So I'm pretty much almost at the stage where I feel like I'm ready to hit the ground running. I have two, what they call like 1 barrel fermenters. That's 40 gallons. And, again, depending on the style that I make, I can revolve the menu a little bit. I also have 2 smaller, about 15-gallon ones, and that is perfect setup for a nano brewery. Most nano breweries start at the 1 barrel position. Obviously, as I said, you can spend as much money as you really want to. Some people will literally buy thousands of dollars of equipment. It's not worth it, in my opinion. It's better to just, ramp up and gain a following that way, in my opinion.
Yeah. Question for you. It's obviously a consumable. What are the, bees, honey you're not supposed to give the kids under, allergies, like what are the regulations around producing like a food product, if you will, versus Canada or the US?
Again, I totally understand. That was a lot of questions that were posed to me about botulism and things like that. So the nice thing about fermentation is it drops the pH, and that doesn't allow organisms to basically grow in your brew. Obviously, you have say again.
Oh yeah, it doesn't allow them to grow so that they become harmful.
Agreed. So the only thing you have to be very, very worried about is how much you sanitize your equipment. You have to, because if you get mold in your brew, it's pooched. But luckily, it's not happened to me. I use like a very, let's say, dairy sanitation equipment, which is like acidic. Funnily enough, it actually helps fermentation, but it gets rid of any sort of bugs and bacteria. So there's actually just the usual alcohol laws on it, per se. I guess like any sort of brew, it can get infected in theory, but there's no specific rule on, like I said, botulism, because of the fact that,
Yeah, you know what the protocols are, you're sanitizing and low risk like anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you going to spend the $10,000 if you win?
So like I said, for me, the most important is that commercial lease, and I would definitely like to use that full $10,000 pretty much to get a 1-year commercial lease in place.
Rent.
And rent, pretty much, because it's just going to sap it entirely. Obviously the minimum rent is probably, the average rent in Auburn is probably about $1,500 a month. That being said, something I am working on with a colleague, a local tavern owner, is almost doing like a profit share. So I was going to rent from him for $1 a month, and then we'll split the profits, 60-40, 70-30, whatever we kind of agree on, and that would actually increase my profit margins a little bit. I wouldn't have to, it would work out in both of our favors. One, it would bring obviously some foot traffic. So I would just brew, he has the employees that can sell everything. And then, you know, I wouldn't have to worry about rent as much per se.
How many square feet do you need?
Yeah, you don't need a minimum per se.
No,
not
if you lease the place.
How many square feet
would you need to?
Would I need? I don't know that there's a certain minimum per the regulations. They just want to see that you have a floor plan. They want to see that there's like a door that separates it from tap room area, but I don't think there's a minimum. So I'm working in my kitchen, which is, I don't know, probably the size of your guys' table area. So I can't really.
So to Ralph's point, if you had a 10 by 10 foot room, you set up, you can produce.
Absolutely. Yep.
Tons of
it's
stuff.
just, they're worried about sanitation. They're just worried about, like I said, literally having a wall in between that and the public. But otherwise, I could work in, you know, a shoe closet if I needed to.
Could you be profitable working out of a shoe closet?
In theory, yes. Am I going to be, you know, it wouldn't be like it wouldn't be my full-time, you know, job. Eventually, I would like to get to that stage. But, you know, my apartment, let's say as it is 1,000 square feet. So that would be more than enough. The tap room that I'm partnered with is probably half of that, 3/4 of that. So, yeah, the tap room is obviously where most people make their money, or where they sell the most product. Again, do I know the exact figures off the top of my head? I'm not too sure. I'd have to pilot a tap room myself. But for reference, my colleague, he's out in Pennsylvania. He opened up a Meadery within the last year with his wife. They are just doing, again, the nano thing because he's works in IT, I guess. They did 5 festivals, and in 6 months, they ended up selling over 1,000 bottles of mead. So that's just standing in a booth and you know, selling it. So the tap rooms, most people say that in an actual tap room, you'll sell about like 1,000 bottles plus a week, sort of thing. And then obviously you're charging by the ounce, so you're going to be charging more. Most people, they charge $2 to $4 an ounce, depending on what you put in your mead. And so it obviously, you know, comes out more like higher profit margins in the long run too.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Part of your presentation, you were discussing around entering additional competitions, right, for that brand recognition, receiving more medals. Mm-hmm. What does that look like throughout the year? Is it just like a mead a competition, or is it part of like a food and drink and?
So they're mostly like mead-based competitions as it is. There's like 3 big ones that most people enter. So that's the Mazer, the Texas Mead Fest, and then the Domrus Cup. So I medaled in 2 of those. The one I just didn't manage to get a submission to, but they host them like almost every month kind of thing. And obviously the scores are public, so everybody can see your name and what you're producing. There are different categories, so eventually when you get into the commercial side, you are no longer are allowed to do the homebrew category. But again, same thing. If you have like an actual business name and people see that you're competing and you're winning, then again, same thing. It just builds a little bit of allure, let's say.
Right, exactly where I was going, because I know that right now you're saying you can't work right now, but there's an opportunity to build that brand.
Yeah, and part of my plan at some point in time, within probably the first, second quarter, is to start working on my social media. I'm not the most tech savvy, but I'm going to try and work on that as well.
Last question. How big is the category? Is it a big and growing category, I guess? Do you know how big the mead business is in North America? I don't know if there's any available data.
I was looking at that sort of data. I can't find anything, unfortunately, no. But I would definitely say it's very, very up and coming, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Dr. Drake, that's certainly a presentation we won't forget about. Now we're going to ask you to go off stage while we do some product testing.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next contestant is no stranger to the big stage. Drafted in 2007 by the Dallas Stars, he lived the dream, playing for the Edmonton Oilers and the New Jersey Devils in the NHL. Now he shares his own story, shedding light on life behind the scenes of the greatest game. Put him up for Luke Gazdic and Mitts Off.
Judges, thank you so much for your time today. As Michael, my former classmate, said, my name is Luke Gazdic. I went to St. Mike's from 2002 to 2007 before ending a career in professional hockey that spanned 11 years and over 500 games, 147 of those in the NHL with the Edmonton Oilers and the New Jersey Devils. I retired in May of 2021 before moving home to my hometown of Toronto, up in North York, and trying to figure out what I should do with my life after. I now currently work on Rogers Sportsnet as a TV hockey analyst 4 nights a week. both nationally and regionally. I'm heavily involved with the NHL alumni and the Edmonton Oilers alumni, and I started the podcast Mitts Off with Luke Gazdic. Before I continue any further, I'd like to introduce my executive producer, Mr. Darren Winkler.
Hi everyone, my name is Darren Winkler. My background is in sports media and production, and that's where Luke and I met. Over 20 years, I've worked in hockey, I've worked with athletes, I've worked with teams, and when I was looking for a former player to start a platform with, Luke was suggested to me, and a year and a half later, we're still going great, and we love working together, we're passionate, we share common interests, and that's kind of how we started Mitts Off.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie, when I retired from professional hockey, I was extremely lost. I went through some personal struggles in the transition from on the ice to off the ice. I didn't know what I loved anymore. I didn't know what made me tick. And to be completely honest with you, I truly missed the game, but not the actual hockey side of the game. I primarily was an enforcer in my time playing professional hockey. I did not miss the fighting. I did not miss the physicality. What I did miss was my teammates. I missed the camaraderie. I missed the conversations. I missed being in the locker room every day. I missed sitting on the back of buses and planes and talking to guys, waiting in the lounge in the morning for guys to come in so I could ask them what they did the night before. So what I wanted to do was start a podcast. But when I looked in the market, there wasn't anything that I necessarily liked. There was some very stereotypical hockey content. Example, nothing against them, a podcast like Spittin' Chicklets that was very locker room oriented, stereotypical hockey boy, hockey talk. I wanted to get deeper. I wanted to get darker, mind you. I wanted to touch the mental side of it. The struggles and emotional challenges that I went through for my hockey career are unspeakable, to be honest. And not only me, but so many of my fellow athletes and hockey players went through a lot of the same things. And I wanted to convey those stories. So I wanted to start a long-form hockey podcast. And 17 episodes later, here we are. This is Mitts Off. There's a picture of me with Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman Eric Goodbranson. Here's some pictures from the show so far. I've had on such guests as Edmonton Oilers defenseman Darnell Nurse, Ottawa Senators forward Brady Tkachuk, and Beaches native Jamie Oleksiak. Over 6 months, I would like to show you some analytics now. Over 6 months, we've been able to accomplish a lot of different things, but I'd like to show you some of the analytics from our social media platforms. On YouTube right now, every episode's averaging about 2.4K in average views, and on audio podcasts, which we share everywhere, all over Spotify and Apple Music, about 1.85K. We publish not only on my social media accounts, but on the Mitts Off Pod, where actually TikTok is one of our number one most popular social media avenue. Would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, the other thing that was really important to us, especially for myself from the production side, was not only did we want to have content that was unique and different and really relatable and kind of showed the human side of athletes, it drove me crazy seeing all these podcasts with guys shooting on their phone or in their basements and trying to create studios like that. So our set is different. We have a 3-camera, 4K setup, and our show is not just an audio base. We have obviously YouTube, but we also have the ability to put our shows, whether it's on television channels or in commercials or various integrations with brands that we'll get to in a bit. It was important for us to also have that element that not only was our show sounding good, but it looked amazing.
So when I first had the idea, I called an old friend and teammate of mine, Etobicoke native Connor Brown, former Toronto Maple Leaf and Ottawa Senator. We filmed a demo with him, we cut a teaser, and we put it live, and it went viral. It was all over TSN, Sportsnet, you name it, media, and as of today, basically, it's garnered over 532,000 impressions across all platforms. This is that clip.
So you talk about being an armchair GM in UFA season, and like I did, imagining myself, in a Bruins jersey or in a whatever Nashville jersey. How much does coming back home to Canada, will you look at that? And you're making me smile right now thinking about maybe a possible Oiler reunion at some point in your career. Like, have you thought of that down the road, being like, man, it would be really cool to play with Davo again at some point?
You'd be lying to say no. Like, of course, it would be awesome to play with him, and more so for anything, he's going to win a cup here eventually.
It has to happen,
and
right?
and as a player, that's what I want to do. I want to win You know, you're a player. You want to win in a Stanley Cup in the NHL, and that's a big priority going into where you're going to land. And so, but you think about every scenario, truly.
2 weeks later, on July 1st, he ended up signing with the Edmonton Oilers, which we take credit for predicting. But would you like to add something about the studio in the back as well?
Yeah, so obviously you can see our production quality there is really important to us. And the first 6 months have been a bit of a testing ground. We want to see what works, what doesn't, and we're going to make adjustments now moving into 2024. And one of them is coming up with a consistent production schedule, just so people know when our content is coming out. And we also want to add a little bit more to what we do and dive a bit deeper into Luke's hockey knowledge.
And being on Sportsnet, I feel like some of the things I did miss on top of the interviews was actual hockey talk about the National Hockey League. So our content schedule looks something like this. We'll be adding a feature episode every other Monday called Mitts Off Monday with another TSN analyst and Woodbridge native, Frank Corrado. We'll be calling it Mitts Off Monday. So in addition to the 2 interviews, we're going to have 2 hockey-based segments that come out, giving us a really regulated content schedule. In terms of partnerships, this is what we show a lot of sponsors when we are planning to work with different brands. Everything from social media posts to title sponsors to product placement, giving them ad reads in between episodes, set integration, brand stuff that I'd be wearing, anything that the brand or company can and will advertise with.
And so a lot of that stuff, we're able to do collaborations on Instagram through Luke's personal channels. We're able to put logos on screen so our videos are easily identifiable and without making them too prominent to take away from the content. Because at the end of the day, our content is king and that's what matters the most to us. And sponsorship is what's driving us right now. And we have tons of ways that we can do that. But at the end of the day, we always come back to our content is the #1 priority.
As of December 31st, 2023, we are free agents. For the past better part of 5 months, we had an exclusive title sponsor of Sports Interaction. We garnered over $83,000 in revenue in just 6 months of work. The majority of that from Sports Interaction, but we also signed a partnership deal with Air Canada where they have our catalog of episodes and you can watch episodes 1 through 4 on Air Canada domestic and international flights. But I'll let you take this from here.
Right, so in terms of what we call in media CPM, like cost per 1,000 impressions, just using December as a very conservative estimate because we've seen several videos go over top of what our 400,000 impressions, what we did, roughly in December. So we've put our CPM at about $25. And if you times that by 5, once we start getting into marketing, which we've done very little of, once we get into having more of a presence on social media, we feel we can easily grow that. And also Luke himself is growing with his presence on Sportsnet. So we feel like we've just scratched the surface and we feel like our platform can be multi-platforms, whether it's web, whether it's writing, whether it's TV, whether we expand to shows, half-an-hour shows. We feel like the sky's the limit. We're just scratching the surface, and I think we have big things really to come.
And I think that's the biggest thing is we have spent maybe $3K on marketing and advertising. So we've done this with little or no marketing or advertising. But in conclusion, for me, when I go anywhere, I've been getting positive feedback, not only about being on TV, but it's more about the podcast from former players, from alumni, from friends, family, whatever it is, loving the content. And I'm so excited for 2024. This has honestly been a lifesaver for me. And I want to thank you guys for taking your time and listening to our presentation.
Darren, Luke, love hearing the story. With all this AI content online, it can be overwhelming to see just clickbait swill that people are flooded with. And it's refreshing to hear your genuine and authentic message coming out with your connections to the players. Let's throw it over to the judges and do some Q&A.
Question. Who is your, I'm a podcast junkie, so
yes.
I'm biased to the platform, but in terms of your target audience, who are you really, what does he or she look like? Who is your audience? Is it former players?
No, I would say it's more than just former players. I would say it's generally male, age, 18 to 54, something like that. But I've had females also listen. Our episode 11, was with a gentleman named Slater Cuckoo, who retired from mental health issues. And that episode reached everybody and anyone from when I was talking to. A lot of the issues that we went through as athletes and hockey players don't just relate to just athletes. It's the everyday regular person too. So I would say that it's probably male, younger male, but it's not just athletes. It's been everybody under the genre.
Are you more focused on, like having known Trevor Linden and some of the challenges and all that sort of stuff? Like most people have no concept of, they say, oh yeah, you had a good career, you made lots of money or whatever, but they don't understand from a physical standpoint what actually happens in the game. Are you trying to get the education around, and I'm not familiar with your podcast, but is it more health-based, more, like do you have, like what's your content pillar strategy? Like what are the 5 things you talk about, whatever it may be?
I would say it's primarily experience-based. I just think there's a lot of things that we went through physically and mentally. Physically, I went 4 shoulder surgeries, multiple concussions, tons of missed time, tons of therapy on the mental side. Yeah. And that's what I think people watch TV, they see former players on TV being analysts, they see the game, they see the 20-second interview about the game after, but they really don't realize what guys go through behind closed doors. And that's really what I want to tell, is some of those stories that you're not going to hear. It's not always comedic. Sometimes it's a little rough. Sometimes it's a little dark. Yeah. And I really think getting past that hump and that barrier is really important. I had a text from a former teammate, his name's Andre Schuster, he played for the Tampa Bay Lightning, who texted me last Monday because he's been going through some struggles here in his last year of pro hockey. He said, Luke, I listened to your episode with Slater, and I have to tell you, that hit me so hard. He said, I want to thank you for what you're doing, and what you're doing is really important. So in answering your question, I think it is helping former players, but it's also showing people that weren't former players some of the struggles that we did go through.
Yeah, it's real. Thank you.
So Luke, I think that this podcast purpose is awesome. Fantastic. Question about your TikTok popularity. What's your plan with TikTok, and how do you plan on using that as kind of growth?
Well, we'd love to monetize it in some way. I think it's 60, how many followers now? 60?
I think we're almost at 7K followers. So for TikTok in particular, we're looking to partner with brands that have a presence there. We're finding it's kind of newer to a lot of Canadian advertisers in terms of how they use it. So I think with logo placement, tags in the captions, and even product integrations, I think we can monetize that. But it's something we're definitely looking for some guidance on, of course, but those are some of our initial plans.
I think it's worked so well on TikTok because with the short attention span of our generation, I'll say, if they don't want to listen to our 35-minute episode, we cut 2 teasers pre, so you get a little tease about the interview, you get one when we release it, and then we'll do at least one in case you missed it. Yeah. And we'll put those on our TikTok. So that TikTok either leads them to the full interview, or they just sit there and watch the short form clips on our TikTok page, and it is blown up.
Yeah, I think that's a huge potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking, I was talking with friend of mine from Rogers, and obviously there's that tie-in because Luke works there on the Sportsnet panel, and they were just talking with TikTok themselves about how to integrate more sports into the platform and get more partnerships and sort of branded content there. So that's another resource we may look into.
Thank you for your story. Great numbers. I liked how you mentioned where it went beyond the locker room for obviously those of us that don't know that space, and that you're going more into these more challenging discussions, which I really appreciate. Because my question to you is, I know that you have it also posted on YouTube, and you're able to see the engagement in the actual comments that people are putting. How are you finding people? Are they coming back? How are they resonating? How are they engaging with you in that space? And how are you finding your engagement with them based on the platforms?
Wow, great question. I would say that as soon as, I wouldn't have a number value for it in terms of if people are coming back, but as soon as people watch one, it's an instant subscription. And so whether they're watching it on the YouTube or they're listening to it on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, once they download one, we have a fan and a customer for the show. That's a hard metric to quantify, I would say.
One interesting metric is that we found really high retention rate. People who have watched tend to watch the whole show. And people who have watched one usually watch another. There's obviously some variables depending on who the player, what cities he's from, and things like that. But we have a very loyal, I would say, fan base, and the comments are just been overwhelming. Like, just thank you for this. It's so great to hear this person, see the human side of it. Like Luke talked about those 20-second clips you see in scrums. Like, you really don't get to know the person. And that's what we wanted to do, was to show people that players aren't just like these robots. They're people too, right? And they're funny, and they have a business sense, and they have hobbies and all these other things. So yeah,
And
we've
that's
had the response has been amazing.
And I just want maybe that second to that is that content, leveraging it in other platforms, like the short vignettes on TikTok or Instagram, or even on the players' social media or whatnot. How are you working with them? Is there any kind of discussions with the individuals that are being interviewed?
With the player? Yeah, of course. So I always leave it up to them, first and foremost, but they have been great in sharing it. A lot of the guys, I wouldn't say every single guy, have been some former teammates of mine, and they're more than happy to share the content on their own specific platforms. Having a little more challenges in season, having to go through, PR guys for the certain team, but I had a really good relationship with a lot of guys over my 11-year career and played in a lot of different places. So usually it takes a phone call, and these guys are very willing and able to do it. To answer your first question too with a question, I think that's my biggest thing, is how do I get these people to come back? And that's been an experiment over the 6 months, is what kind of players should we lean more towards a Canadian market? Should we keep them in person, or should we do some virtual Zoom, which we've tried both of? So we're trying tons of different things to see what works. Obviously, I'm huge in the Alberta and Edmonton market. Anything Oiler related, these clips and interviews go nuts. Our next episode is with the Toronto Maple Leafs, so we can't wait to do that one. It'll be our first Leaf episode. But that's one of the biggest questions that I'm trying to answer, is how do I make sure these guys come back and watch and listen?
Yeah. The other cool thing is, in the summer there was very little hockey content, and that's when we started, and we dominated the market. Like, people were using our clips all over the place. They were clipping them and sharing them, clipping them and sharing them. That helped us get noticed. In fact, by July, when we had Luke's former teammate Darren Nurse on, we were #2 in Canada on Apple Podcasts for hockey, and #4 in sports overall, which was incredible. After only 4 episodes, up there with multi-million-dollar companies competing with us.
We were second only, or we were just Jason and Travis Kelce's new heights was above us. And I think it was crazy to see #2 hockey, #2 in all in sports for July.
So we have big plans for the summer too.
That's Canada?
In Canada, yeah. Yeah, so the summer we have some really great guests lined up.
And who have you had sponsor it so far?
So the 2 biggest sponsors were Sports Interaction, which is a Canadian sports book. They were our primary title sponsor. They are a betting sponsor. We didn't have any betting content. I made that a strict thing in our negotiation, was I did not want to make this a betting podcast in any way. There's a little bit of an ad read off the top that says download the new app to get started. But I made some short form betting for them on the side in exchange for a podcast sponsorship. And the only other one was Air Canada, which was a one-off purchase of them, of our first 4 episode catalog that you can watch on flights. Those are really the only 2 we've had so far, right?
Mm-hmm. We've had some clothing integrations, but those are our main 2, yeah.
And how did you find them as sponsors? Like, how are you going to find continuing sponsors as, like, I assume your channel is going to grow, so you're going to have people who will pay.
I try to make it as a symbiotic relationship as I could. I always was making sure, talking to Michael, our key contact there, is the content okay? Do you want something different? Would you like a guest on in particular? Do you want us to go after the Toronto market? Would you want us to be in person? I try to always make sure you guys are the ones paying us. You guys are the ones who have your logo on the videos. You're the one whose ad I'm reading. If there's something else you want us to do, or something you want us to do less of, just let us know. Mm-hmm. And I try to make it as, good for them as it was for us.
Yeah, we've built some contacts in the industry through my time working in branded partnerships, and that's how we were able to secure the Sports Interaction deal. And prior to Mitsoff, we did have a platform with short form content that was a little more focused on sports betting. So we had kind of established ourselves in the market there. But we're using January, actually it's good timing. We're using January to evaluate where we are and where we want to go with the podcast. We're talking to some other sponsors. We've had some interesting conversations with FanDuel. Yeah, we've had some interesting conversations with a capital a firm, Canadian capital firm that may be
Oh, I
interested
should
in
add that to you
acquiring us.
guys.
Do you wanna-
I did. Yeah, so we were approached by Sportsnet for them to take this on. I didn't love the deal. Didn't love what they were planning to do with it. And the other big one was a big digital media company called Playmaker Capital that actually offered to buy it for $100,000. They wanted to bring us on for 6 to 12 months and then purchase the entirety of the show and the IP after 12 months. We thought it was worth more than that. I decided to say no. And we are currently back after 2 months in pretty intense discussions with them on a year-long term. I wanted more of a licensing deal, something like that. You guys sell this for us, let's do a rev share. But they have some pretty high hopes on an ownership stake on some part in the company. So I'm really just trying to see what's out there and go from there.
Any possibility of getting Connor McDavid?
To be honest, he's someone I've been saving. He's someone that I probably could have gotten on earlier. Connor McDavid, when he came into the league at 18, was my roommate. So he got drafted to Edmonton. I lived in a house with Taylor Hall in Edmonton, and we invited him in. So his rookie year, we lived together. He's a very good friend of mine. And he's just someone that I didn't want on. I don't love asking too much from people. I know. So he has a place in Muskoka, and we are planning on doing a little bit of a Muskoka tour. But he's an episode for the summer after they win the cup. We'll
leave.
Yeah.
Something like that would really open doors for a lot of them.
Oh, you're probably stirring right now because he keeps asking me when are we going to do Connor? So
when you look at podcasts and when they started to do the trajectory, they got a big name, and all of a sudden, so many good ones.
Yeah, and
Especially if
so
it's a good
especially with a guy like that, we've tried some virtual ones. How many virtual we do? We did Nick Foligno, I think
4 or 5.
And I really didn't like the vibe of the Zoom, where we did a recorded Zoom. So for some of these guys, especially Connor, I want to do him the dignity and the respect of having a sit down and man-to-man conversation instead of talking over a screen.
Because you can get like 1,000 TikToks.
That's it's in the works for this summer. Big plans. I think I'll have a lot more free time on my hands too.
Who's managing all of your social media and the production of this so far? Because it sounds like you have a full-time job. And
well, you have a job too, but we split the social media, but the production side, I would say you take the lead on that. Go for it.
Yeah, so in terms of our social media, we've had some students helping us in the past. We've both done a little bit of it. We're kind of boots on the ground, like kind of grinding it out. But our plans for 2024, that would be including adding a social media person. It's something we think is really important and something we would use any money towards that as well. We just feel like we can generate so much more interest if we had someone full-time helping us.
Me and him pretty much do everything. We have a camera operator and an editor for the episodes, but everything else that you just saw and everything we've made, you're looking at it. Yeah. This is us too.
And with the kind of the CPM you're talking about up here, will that make it like a profitable business compared to your production costs?
Sure. So we have very low overhead, really just some camera rentals. So yeah, we're already making money with off the 83,000 that we generated in the last 6 months. And so we just, other than some equipment purchases and adding social media, we definitely are profitable.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
That was awesome.
Thanks for doing what you're doing, guys.
Yeah.
Darren, Luke, great story. It's really easy sometimes when you're like watching this on TV, these players are moving around, you feel like they're just like little pieces. Often they're even referred to as pieces. And it's almost dehumanizing. And with your story, you're bringing that out of them, connecting with them, and allowing us to hear about their actual lives. Great. Well, it looks like you answered your own question about what to do after you retire. Put the mitts down, pick up a mic.
Yeah, I'm figuring it out slowly.
Yeah, right on. All right, we're going to cut to the lobby music. We're going to let the judges deliberate, then we're going to come back.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Now we're going to cut to something fun. Let's catch up with one of our previous contestants, Aiden Tai from the social payments app Mosey.
Hey there, my name's Aiden Tai, and I'm a founder of Mosey, which is a social group payments platform. I graduated from St. Mike's in the class of 2015, along with my 2 other co-founders, Luke DeHaas and Colin Lee. We started Mosey with the intention of bringing a fun and a social payments app to the Canadian market, similar to a Venmo or a Cash App, which are so popular in the States. During my time at Queen's University, which I graduated in the class of 2019, I lived in a 7-person house. So between myself and my 6 other housemates, we constantly had expenses that needed to be split up and we didn't really have an effective way of doing it. So what would often happen is that people would forget who had paid them, and it would then turn into a massive headache of trying to go through your email to find a payment that would have allegedly been sent weeks prior. With Mosey, we wanted to build a payments app that would allow groups to split bills in an organized manner so that it would always be super simple for someone to check who's paid them and who hasn't, simply by going into your specific group and seeing who you're still waiting on. Once we had built out this group feature, we faced a roadblock that many entrepreneurs face, which is how do we get people to actually learn about our app or actually sign up and use our app? Our solution was to develop a feature that allowed users to buy and sell event tickets through Mosey. And using our ticketing feature, we began hosting events on various Canadian university campuses, with all tickets being sold exclusively through Mosey. And to this day, this is a growth hack that we continue to use, and it's helped us onboard thousands of users onto our platform. We then turned and began partnering with local event companies and had them use Mosey to sell tickets for their own events. This helped us reach markets that might not have been easily accessible for us, or we might not have even known about. And unlike other ticketing platforms, we charge 0% fees to event organizers. So we had a pretty attractive pitch for bringing organizers onto Mosey and having them use our platform to sell their tickets. So through the process of hosting events and connecting with students and connecting with event organizers, we quickly built a large network of students who were passionate about promoting to their friends and through social media. So leveraging this network, we launched a campus ambassador program. So how our ambassador program works is we found companies that were looking to market their products on campus, and we acted as an agency that would handle the entire distribution process for them, from sourcing students to hand delivering product, and then making sure that any recipients of their product were completing the necessary tasks outlined by the specific company. So through our ambassador program, we created a perfect trifecta, which was essentially a win-win-win scenario. Our brand partners were happy because their products were being distributed on campus to students who would post on social media for them and would advertise for them. Our ambassadors were happy because they were receiving free products that were delivered right to their door. And then a benefit for us was that all of our ambassadors would become active users of Mosey. And we found that as they promote products from our partners, most of them would go ahead and take the liberty of promoting Mosey to their friends, whether that be through social media or word of mouth. So through all of this, one lesson that I hold with high regard through the process of building our campus ambassador program is really stressing the importance and the benefits of building a community, or at least how valuable it's been for us. Because we've had ambassadors who have joined our program simply because they want to receive free products. However, through the process of getting to know them and hand delivering the products and explaining to them and showing them how Mosey works and the benefits that come with it, they've become some of our most active users. Our ambassador program really helped accelerate our growth on university campuses because our ambassadors, not only are they our most active users, but they've become our biggest advocates. They help promote Mosey to their friends. They introduce our ticketing features to their various school clubs and organizations, and they help onboard their friends' houses to have them split their bills with us. It really shows how the virality that can come from passionate users that genuinely love your product or your app or your service or whatever it is that you're offering is so valuable, which is why I emphasize the importance of building a community around whatever it is that you're offering and really committing time to making sure that you're listening to them, that they're happy, and ultimately that you're keeping note of comments or opinions that they have about your offering. Starting a company is no easy venture, and as I'm sure you've all been told a million times, it will certainly come with its fair share of ups and downs. But it's really important that you're passionate about what it is that you're building. However, at the same time, always being conscious and aware about things that are working and things that aren't. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to tell my story about starting Mosey, and I hope that I was able to offer a little bit of insight into some of the things that have worked for us and some of the things that haven't. Best of luck with all your ventures, and thank you for the opportunity.
We live in a fast-moving world. Everyone's looking for an edge. Our next contestants are playing on that need for competitive advantage with their cognitive performance enhancements. Introducing Ryan and Henry from Nootra.
Hi, I'm Henry Wilson, co-founder of Nootra.
Hi, I'm Ryan Stephen, co-founder of Nootra. Hey Henry, do you drink coffee?
Yeah.
Well, why do you drink coffee?
Well, Ryan, it gives me that extra boost in the morning and helps keep me productive.
What if I told you you could get that boost and more out of your coffee drinking experience?
Nootra. Nootra offers a high-quality cold brew enhanced with nootropics to provide an extra level to the morning coffee. Now you may be wondering, what are nootropics? Often referred to as smart drugs or cognitive enhancers, nootropic supplementation has proven to enhance cognitive function, particularly memory, creativity, and motivation.
The current nootropics we're using in our beverage are L-tyrosine and alpha-GPC. L-tyrosine is an amino acid that serves as a precursor to your dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine neurotransmitters. Dopamine is crucial for dealing with focus and motivation, while epinephrine and norepinephrine help us deal with stress. Because of this, tyrosine is great for assisting cognitive performance under stress, whether it's a big exam or an important presentation. L-tyrosine also helps prolong mental endurance. In fact, research shows sleep-deprived individuals perform better after taking L-tyrosine. Our other nootropic is alpha-GPC. Alpha-GPC is a naturally occurring supplement that is a precursor to the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. Acetylcholine deals with learning, memory, and overall brain function. So taking alpha-GPC is proven to enhance cognitive abilities, specifically learning, memory, learning, and focus. Both our nootropics are in Health Canada's natural health product pre-cleared ingredient database, meaning that all ingredients have been tested and proved to be safe and effective in double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. In a fast-paced world with increasing demand for mental agility, many individuals struggle with focus, memory, and battling stress. Due to this, a lot of individuals rely on a cup of coffee to overcome mentally exhausting tasks like work or school. Nootra brings more to the boost that coffee drinkers seek by not only caffeinating them, but also providing the effects from nootropics like sharper thinking, stronger mental endurance, better memorization, and other cognitive enhancements. The market for nootropics is also rapidly growing. In 2023, it was estimated to be valued at $16 billion and is anticipated to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 15.86% in the next 8 years. Additionally, 42% of the market is based in North America. So far, in the past 3 months, we started out by researching nootropics and the nootropic market. From our research, we concluded that L-tyrosine and alpha-GPC were the best nootropics for our beverage, and the nootropic market is growing. We then moved on to product development. After some trial and error and a lot of critical feedback from students on campus, we created our formula and designed our bottles. Finally, we are in the midst of creating our prototype and obtaining a natural health product license. We're currently waiting to hear back from Health Canada and anticipate we'll receive our license in the next few months.
Our projected margins for the production of Nootra are as follows. In the early stages of Nootra, before we're able to move into contract manufacturing, we will be spending $2.85 to produce each bottle, and they will be sold for $4.50, giving us a gross profit of $1.65. Currently, we're developing the first prototype of Nootra, using high-quality Arabica coffee brewed into cold brew, enhanced with alpha-GPC and L-tyrosine purchased from a local supplement wholesaler. We plan on using glass bottles, purchased in bulk from Amazon Business, paired with stick-on labels from Staples. The sales of the first batch of Nootra will be sold at a new coffee shop in the Forest Hill Village within the next few months. We're confident in this location as we believe it appeals to our target market. With your investment, we plan on devoting approximately 10% of the funds towards online advertisement, primarily Instagram, and developing an online presence through Shopify and other means at our disposal. We plan on investing the majority of the funds to scale our business through contract manufacturing after approaching local stores and creating more opportunities to sell our products. Through the process of creating Nootra, the opportunities for other nootropic enhanced products have become apparent. Following the launch of our flagship product, we plan on developing a sachet that can be taken on the go or act as another option for non-coffee drinkers. Thank you. Thank you, judges, for taking the time to listen. We look forward to hearing your questions.
All right, Ryan and Henry, sounds like you've laid down a solid foundation. You're working from your own experience. and you got a great plan. Let's throw it over to the judges and start the Q&A. Christina?
Sure. Thank you both. I really appreciate the level of information that you prepared. It looks great. Honestly, it's a very sharp-looking product, and I love hearing that you took into account the regulation piece coming from the pharma industry. I'm really happy to see that you're working in the right manner and getting that approval, so thank you for that. If you could walk us through and just provide us a little bit of a differentiation, help us understand. I know you've secured the Forest Hill model or the location, but if you can walk us through, why is yours different? Why would I choose something like that versus something else at the same location?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much, first of all. And so one thing that really differentiates us from the other nootropic, I guess, supplements that are currently being sold is, first of all, there's very few ready-to-drink products. Most of the ready-to-drink products are more of like a soda or something, whereas ours is the only coffee or cold brew beverage with nootropics. Additionally, there's also just not a lot of players in the game, and the people that are doing these ready-to-drinks have a different nootropic stack. So the nootropics that we're using, alpha GPC and tyrosine, primarily focused on enhancing your memory and cognitive abilities, like we said, whereas the nootropics that other ready-to-drinks that are using are more for like mood, dealing with anxiety, so more of a mood booster compared to a cognitive enhancer with ours.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll pass it to the next judge.
Thanks, great presentation. I really love the product. I also really liked how you've allocated some of the use of capital, use of funds to manufacturing. What sort of research have you done on the manufacturing, and how would the different manufacturing impact your unit economics?
So we've been looking around for several different opportunities to pursue contract manufacturing, and the biggest thing in our way at the moment is capital. We don't have enough money to do a large contract manufacturing order. So we're trying to start small and perfect our prototype before we invest in contract manufacturing. But we have pursued that avenue, and we have identified several bottling plants that we could use and factories where we could create it.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right, hi. My question is, could you, well, not really a question, but I'd like to learn a little bit more about your target market. Like, who are you selling to and what that's going to look like?
So our concept for the target market, especially with our first location being in the Forest Hill Village, is to pursue a higher end client base. So it's part of the reason for the decision of a nice simplistic design and a glass bottle, because we believe we're trying to pursue as a bit of more of a luxury item. So the idea is to pursue sort of people who are interested in holistic medicine as opposed to maybe staying away from pharmaceuticals and who just want to be a little bit healthier and have that extra edge in the morning.
But you're selling to the retailers, or are you selling directly to the people?
Selling directly to the people for now, and then we plan on selling to retailers once we have furthered our business.
Thank you.
So I'm not familiar with nootropics, never heard of it before. Why did you guys choose coffee? Because I would think that coffee already has a lot of what nootropics has going for it.
Right. So that's kind of why we chose coffee, because we figured people that drink coffee are looking for that edge, and some people that drink coffee don't get enough of it from their typical cup of coffee. So we kind of figured people that are drinking coffee are seeking out something along the lines of this. So it might be something that they're more interested in, but also that's why we've also explored kind of looking at using different types of ideas. So for example, the sachet that Henry introduced at the end, as long as maybe a tea and perhaps like a juice, just because we don't want to limit ourselves to only coffee drinkers. Not everyone drinks coffee, but we just figured people that drink coffee are looking for this kind of boost. So why don't we give them that and more?
Okay. How many bottles on your first run?
We're going to do around 25.
All right.
Might be a little biased, so I've half my career was in coffee, and the last 5 years I've been in the natural healthcare space. So to Christina's point, you need to make sure you have your NHP, and so that's great to see. Having worked at craft and competing in the coffee category, ready to drink, I had some of the same questions around capital. So it's a very competitive market. It is very, very low margin on the manufacturing side. I'm glad to see that you had 37% margin. It's on a high item. That's what they look for. I have like a million questions because I know a lot about this category. We'll be here to help. However, knowing the category, coffee is the most drink item in Canada, followed by water with like 80 some odd household penetration. Same thing with VMS, vitamin supplements. What that means is you're going to have a lot of competition, right? There's going to be a lot of people. So as soon as you hang on to something really good or a unique formula, someone's going to want to copy you that has capital, right? So my question is, have you thought about, obviously we talked a little bit about your differentiation and all that sort of thing, but when you get that a little bit more sharper, how will you protect your IP? Like in terms of your formula, your ratio. What you don't want to do is get into the store, you're in an area, and you get the CMO of Pepsi Canada see your product, and then they go, here, emulate this. So like if you haven't thought about it, give some thought around how do you protect your IP, not just the brand, but the formula. Is there anything unique in the manufacturing process that you guys figured out? Is there anything around that? I'm more concerned about someone stealing this from you. So I want to make sure you take the steps that no one does sort of steal it from you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. To be honest, we haven't really gone anywhere to protecting that. And it is something that we definitely will get on, perhaps even before we start selling, because we do have a lot of time to prepare. Since we're basically waiting on our NHP license to come in. So in the time that we prepare to sell, we're definitely gonna do everything in our power to make sure that we have it protected so that when we do actually sell it and people can start buying it, no one can just steal it from us. Because we do have time in between from now and when we intend to sell it for still a coffee shop.
When do you think, what's your target date to kind of do an in-market trial?
So I would say right now, we just submitted we just received our company code for the NHP license. So then it's from what our research, it's supposed to come, or we're supposed to receive our license in anywhere between 2 to 4 months from now. So after that, then we'll have to start manufacturing. So I would say probably late summer to actually start selling in the shop.
Okay, great. You want to do that sooner than later, because to get a trademark, it'll take up to a year, if not more. But you can put a registered, so you show that it's registered, and then just make sure that on the patent law stuff. I'm not a lawyer by any stretch of imagination, but that's a bit of a process. So before you commit to production, make sure you understand that space a little bit on what it takes, just to make sure that you look after that. So, but I think it's got opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you for your advice too.
I'm going to say something, maybe something people don't want to hear. I love coffee, so that's nothing wrong there. But there is a whole host of people that do not like coffee, so to this space, right? Mm-hmm. I guess my question to you is, now that you have a bit of time, and let's say you are successful and you're looking for that advertising piece, walk me through some of your thoughts on how are you going to, meet that audience that's not looking for the coffee, but really want the benefits that you're really sharing with your product. What does that look like, and what have you seen that you think that might be successful for your advertising model?
So we've looked at a bunch of different options because we have identified that not everyone likes coffee. The main one we're pursuing right now is the sachet. We think it's an advantage because we'd be able to sell them in big boxes. They would be much cheaper. And for anyone who wants to take it on the go, who doesn't like coffee, they can add it into whatever drink they want. We're looking at non-flavored options, so just pure nootropics in the sachet. And we're also looking into maybe some flavored with lemonade or different, maybe electrolyte combos, other sorts of things that we can add to make it even more effective.
I think this is the perfect time for you to, you are young, you have a network, you're even at St. Mike's, you have enough people out there that can, give some really great real-time feedback on how they use it and how it actually enhanced whatever part of their life. Like, there's a really good story there. We know there's a lot of great products, but if you don't have a great story and you don't have, that push and drive behind it, they can land flat. So I suggest over the few months that you're getting prepared is really understand what pulls at people's desires to come back to products such like yours.
if that's the end of the questions, all I really want to say is just thank you to the mentors for the guidance. The experience was priceless. Thank you to the judges. I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you to Mr. Klein, Mr. King, for the opportunity and organizing everything. And yeah, just thanks to everyone. It was awesome.
Thank you very much.
All right, lots to think about from Nootra. The judges have their mind set, and we'll move on to the next set of contestants. We live in a new world where automation and AI have made it very profitable to be a cyber criminal. Businesses are being targeted at scale and need a new wave of defenders to keep them safe. Our next contestant is working hard to bridge the skills gap and develop the next generation of cyber talent. Introducing Marco Ricci from FutureTek Academy.
Hi judges, good afternoon. My name is Marco Ricci, and as Michael just said, I'm here presenting on behalf of FutureTek Academy. So, if you're a decision maker in tech, you know how difficult it is to find good talent today. Most applicants are underqualified, and the qualified applicants you get are typically already employed and sometimes even making more than what your role can pay. If this is you, first off, you're not alone. This is a massive challenge that virtually 100% of the Canadian IT sphere contends with daily. The thing is, most of the qualified applicants end up going to America for the same role with better pay, a better dollar value, and usually lower taxes. This creates a whirlpool for Canadian tech talent, where we now have an overload of junior level developers and engineers compared to their intermediate and senior level counterparts. Lastly, most IT training institutes only focus on bringing people to the door of the tech world without giving them a key or pointing them in the direction of how to get in. They'll give them a certificate and let them walk, adding to a pool of underqualified talent that cannot find employment. Enter FutureTek Academy, a new, affordable, online IT training institute focused on getting people skilled and employed. FutureTek Academy can do this at an elite level as we're a family business. My family has been in tech recruitment with FutureTek IT recruitment since 1999, so we know who to call on and what to ask them when it comes to getting techies hired. Our core values are based around knowing who and what hiring managers want, so we can train people to the level that these managers need. Simply put, we give our participants the skills and experience that they will need to apply and get intermediate and senior level roles. We know our curriculum is more accurate to what managers want as we talk to managers regularly about who they want. Our business model is based around supply and demand. Our trained techies are the supply and our hiring clients are the demand. This works well for us as, again, since we're recruiters, we have direct access to the demand. In fact, we've had direct access for over 20 years now, and this is how we came up with the idea for FutureTek Academy. The best part for us is that we have the ability to create the supply that fills a growing demand. Next, we'll take a quick look at our prices. So one 16-week course costs $2,800. At 2 hours per day, 5 days a week, this works out to around $17.50 per hour, and this would be with 160 in-class hours. We also have 80 additional hours of instructor support, which would bring the overall amount of hours to 240 and the cost down to $11.67 per hour. Our courses, as you'll see in a moment, are a lot cheaper than our competitors, as we wanted to make this affordable to the people who need it most. A huge percentage of Canadian techies are actually new Canadians, who are always looking to add to their tech repertoire before seeking new employment. On this note, it's also a good time to mention some of our partners. One of our partners for FutureTek Academy is Hive, who has partnered with us to give OSAP-like loans to our new Canadian participants to enable them to take our course. Another one of our partners is the Cybersecurity Global Alliance, or CSGA for short, which was started in 2021 to help bring together cybersecurity companies with their resources globally. They're now across the planet and have over 800 companies in their repertoire, one of whom being FutureTek Academy. So next, as you can see here, I've taken two major competitors to show our price impact. I do apologize that one of them is in total hours, as in the instructor support and the in-class hours, and one of them is just in-class hours. It's just what I could find from their website. And this is just to show you our price impact versus theirs. Doesn't matter how you want to cut it, $14,000 for the Lighthouse Labs course, we're cheaper on a per hour basis. And we actually have the back end there where we can get the person employed afterwards, right? A lot of these competitors, the only thing that they'll do, they'll give the person a certificate after completing however many weeks of training. But that person, as I put it here, their supply, right? They just get put into a pool of a growing list of supply, right? There's no one to ever call on that supply. There's no demand for it. And that's where we're different, because again, as recruiters, we talk to demand, It's been our bread and butter. It's how my family has made its living, put me through St. Mike's, right? It's what we do. So now just speaking on that note, for our team, as you can see here, we all currently work together for another program as well called the CanTech program. It's a more condensed version of FutureTek Academy that is only available to new Canadians. It's Government of Ontario sponsored, and it's had close to 400 graduates in 2023 alone. It's also run by Ellen and myself, and it's completely unrelated to FutureTek Academy. I've only brought it up to tell you that we all have, myself, my other co-founder, and our instructor, we all have experience in this field. We have 3 current staff. There's myself, co-founder and operations manager, my other co-founder, Ricci, who's also our program manager and allows me to call this a family business, as well as our wonderful instructor, Kamar Jackson. He's Cisco certified and has experience both as a cloud and cybersecurity practitioner, as well as an educator. He had all this he had all this experience with the University of the West Indies. And just for a bit of clarity here, backgrounds like Kamar's are the only way that we'll actually hire somebody to become one of our instructors. Part of what we do, we want to simulate a real world tech experience as much as we can. And sometimes some of these courses, they focus a little too much on the theory, which takes away from what people end up doing in an office, right? Whether that's collaboration, we foster collaboration, we have hackathons, we want people to work together because that's how tech teams work, right? So in terms of what we've done, we started in the cybersecurity sphere as we've identified a larger percentage of unskilled applicants versus other IT industries. Since our classes are online, we use Zoom to communicate with our students and give them tests and assignments. Kamar is a camera and he records his lessons so that if anyone misses anything, we can give them the recording and they can be caught up. To date, we launched our first cybersecurity class on November 20th, where we had two participants. Our next class starts January 22nd, and we're gonna have 5 participants in that one. I'm here today because our marketing is not where it needs to be. As you can see on screen, under 25% of our total applications come from our current online marketing, 11% from Facebook and 11.5% from LinkedIn. These, again, just for clarity, are not the people that are enrolled. These are the people that are applying to us, right? These are just people that are showing interest. So, you know, when we have under a quarter coming from what should be our biggest source of getting talent, that's kind of a problem, right? And I'm a big believer in, you know, it's not, you're better off looking for more people who are interested because your conversion rate, it's kind of hard to play that game, right? But if you're playing the game of, hey, I've got all this supply coming in, it's a lot easier to get the conversion, right? And so again, under 25% coming from online sources, this means that a lot of the participants we get are from word of mouth, which is great because it shows that what we do, people love it and it works for them. But the actual ability to get our name out and get more people that can then spread our word like this, it's very difficult. I want to thank you for your time and for hearing me speak. And if you have any questions, I'm more than open.
All right, Marco. Cyber, it's hot on everyone's mind. Digital privacy, hygiene touches all our lives. Your pitch has given us the tip of the iceberg. Let's dive beneath the surface, get some questions from the judges.
Definitely.
I'll go first. So what does it take to make this work as a business? Like, what does it look like when this is successful? Because you said you only have 2 people in your first class?
Yeah, so for this to become successful, we're gonna need a minimum of around 10 people per class, and ideally we'd need 2 to 3 classes overall. In terms of how do we get that all set up, we have the instructors, again, just through the other program. We have all the resources, we have all the infrastructure to make it happen. The only thing we actually need at this point is people. We need that. We need our name to be synonymous with training, with success. And then the other part of that is we can also charge on both sides, right? There's the actual applicants who want jobs, and then there's employers who want talent. And so depending on, you know, who needs what, where the bigger demand is, we can take from both sides as well.
Okay, thank you.
So these classes already exist?
Similar, but nothing
So
identical.
why would I want to take yours versus the other?
Because we're recruiters. And so when you're done with us, we can get you a job. Other companies, Empower, Lighthouse Labs, they say they'll get you a job, but we have their graduates at our classes because they couldn't follow through.
A friend of the family actually did the U of T cybersecurity bootcamp, and 100% of the applicants got jobs. Very good ones.
Okay.
Of the participants.
Okay.
It's a
Good
great
to know,
program.
but yeah, no, not all of them work that way. And the other thing is we can actually get you the job through us, right? So you're not waiting a couple months. We have jobs lined up. We have employers, right? That's why we're running this class, because we've had a lot of employers coming to us saying, hey, I need more cyber talent.
Does the existing firm specialize in cybersecurity?
FutureTek Academy?
Yeah.
So FutureTek Academy?
Yeah, your family business.
No, family business is just IT recruiting.
Just IT, okay.
Yeah, and so it's because we've been able to talk to these hiring managers for all this time, especially recently, the last couple of years, the need for cybersecurity professionals has gone through the roof. And so we thought this would be a great place to start. And then the other thing is, a lot of people, and this is why, by the way, I was picking on a lot of those other boot camps, a lot of people with no tech experience whatsoever think, okay, I want to start in tech, I want to start in cyber. You can't start in cyber. A lot of the times you're going to need to start as a cloud practitioner or somewhere along that sphere, just to get the experience, just to get the knowledge, to be able to build into cybersecurity. Our class, our instructor is a cloud practitioner. The first couple weeks, you build up your cloud knowledge, and then we get very heavy into cybersecurity, right? And so especially as taking someone who already has some experience, right? Maybe they've taken a boot course and trying to get them to that intermediate level spot, we have a much bigger advantage in terms of getting them there.
A couple questions. When they're done, you obviously get them a job, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
But are you guys accredited? Like I know sometimes a lot of education places, they need accreditations or certifications and stuff like that. Are you guys accredited with any IT bodies or anything of that sort?
Yeah, so our classes right now, we do offer our own certificate. We are getting them work to be, I believe, Cisco and LinkedIn certified as well. And then we're also trying to talk to the Ministry of Colleges and Universities to try and get something going there. We are trying to make that happen.
Okay. The other question I had was, like how, and I'm thinking more of the financial model and like a pro forma, like just thinking past, like what is your actual capacity? Like is it 10 classes for every 8 weeks, or did you run a scenario where you can do 100 students every quarter kind of thing? Like how big do you think this can be,
so
or
we
what's
can
your capabilities?
Definitely. So because our classes are online, everything is being run through Zoom, we could have 1,000 per actual session, right? In terms of how many can we run per year, we were thinking 3 per, like almost splitting the year into thirds, right? There's 16-week courses, 16 times 3 would be 52 weeks. And you know, it's just to kind of help people run through, get everything they need. Our original thought was to have 4 classes running concurrently, and then when we started this first one, we realized they're only 2 hours long. We can actually have 2 of them running at the same time, right? So, you know, 10 to 12 and then 12 to 2 kind of thing, back to back.
Okay. I got other one, but I'll pass it down the table.
I just wanted to double click on some of the questions, some of the comments you made around the conversion on things like Facebook and whatnot. So if you can just walk us through those advertising dollars that you were looking to put this 10,000. What would that look like? What would make someone click on that and then?
Yeah. So, and thank you for bringing that up. The other thing I wanted to clarify just on that note is why I chose Facebook and LinkedIn. Facebook definitely doesn't sound like the most professional of spaces, but outside of North America, outside of Canada, Facebook is how a lot of people get hired internationally. LinkedIn is the other big one, and that's always thought of a bit more professionally. There's only 7 million people globally on LinkedIn. It's not a huge company when you really think about it. A lot of the talent that comes in, they have Facebook, right? So for our classes, this is how we actually find a lot of people, not through posting ads, but we'll message people, right? We're in a couple group chats on Facebook. And so in terms of how would that money be used, it would be around a split 5,000, 5,000, and we'd start campaigns. Right, I believe we have around 2 months for each campaign, but we need something out there to kind of show everyone like, hey, you know, we're here, we can do what you want at a fifth the price of anybody else, we'll get you a job afterwards. Like, there's no reason not to, compared to anybody else.
Your target audience, is it strictly Canada or is it open? I apologize, I don't know cyber.
No worries at all. It started in Canada because that's just where we are, it's the easiest, but with, you know, an online presence, it's a lot easier. We've definitely had some interest in the States. Some of the 5 people coming up are in the States. And then India is where we're looking to target next because there's a huge population there in tech.
My last question is the OSAP piece, where you're saying that there was an opportunity to take some OSAP funding to actually fund this.
Yeah, so that comes from one of our community partners. Their name is Achieve. And it's not OSAP specifically. It's a loan similar to OSAP where they'll pay the person the money they need. They've got a couple requirements that the person needs to hit before that. And then as the person gets their job and starts their new life, they slowly pay that back.
And then they're able, but this would qualify for that type of funding?
Absolutely.
At least a 10. Okay.
Yes.
I had a question on your current traction. So Your parent company speaks with a lot of customers, employers. How do you know that they will take your students, given your designations, especially given that the number of hours that your students are putting in are significantly less than the other accredited programs?
Well, in terms of the hours versus other accredited programs, we found 2 hours a day, 3 overall, right, with the instructor support. It's really helpful in just terms of getting people what they need to know. And then the other part of that is because we've been talking to these hiring managers for so long, we know exactly who they need, right? And a lot of these roles, it's not like they just kind of happen. Oh, okay, pops up 2 weeks later, it gets closed. We've seen some roles that have been open for a year and a half, right? Like a lot of these in cyber, they're not going anywhere. They cannot find the talent no matter how long the search is. And then the other part is when they do finally find the person, usually someone that they've had to poach, so now they've got to pay another $30,000 more off the bat anyway. And then the person leaves in 2 months because he was only brought in for money. He's going to leave for money too.
How many open jobs are there at any given moment for cybersecurity with what you guys?
A couple thousand.
How many?
A couple thousand in Canada.
Couple thousand. So
Yeah.
I have 1,000 students right now. You could fill them if they were great.
Easily.
Wow.
Easily. Yeah, no.
Just a question, because I'm always thinking about your value proposition. So you kind of hinted it to before, and if you can confirm. So before I ask the question, your geography, because they're online, they can be anywhere, but you're primarily focusing on Canada, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then, would you say your value proposition is join FutureTek Academy, we're 1/5 the price, and we guarantee you a job at the end, which is what you were getting to?
Well, no guarantee though.
Can you guarantee a job?
It's not a guarantee. Sometimes regardless, right? I mean, the last week of our program is also focused around interview training, resume rewriting, trying to make someone the actual complete package. Sometimes it won't work. But from what we've found in the 2 programs here, we're talking about a small fraction of the overall amount of people that start and finish.
Got it.
Any more questions?
All right, I'll throw this in.
Yeah.
So this seems kind of like a no-brainer idea or course for people. So I'm just wondering why more people aren't taking it. Like I feel like you could go out on the street and just hand out flyers to people, and you'd at least find like 1 or 2.
So there's two main reasons for that. The first one, we haven't had the opportunity to put our name out. This last year more or less, has been extremely busy, and then the company itself, we haven't, our first class just started November, right? It's a lot of it is a new space, but the bigger thing is we just haven't had the opportunity to put our name out. And then, sorry, what was the other half of your question there? The back end?
No, that was part of my question. I think I was just saying like you could go and hand out flyers on the streets and you're bound to get like 1 person.
Thank you. Yeah, we want to go online because even though our target audience is Canada, when we're setting up our ads for LinkedIn and for Facebook, we can include other geographies like other countries, right? The big one being the States, right? The northern United States, the eastern United States. It won't cost us any more. So getting more people for the same, it's a better bang for the same buck, right? It just makes a little more sense versus having to print out X amount and then we've got to be outside. That's now hours I can't be in the office getting something done. It's a lot faster, a lot more efficient to put this online and market it that way.
Okay. I just have one quick last question, and maybe I missed it, so forgive me if I did.
No worries.
Understand the whole IT, the market, that understanding, but the specificity around cybersecurity, where did the expertise from that specifically come? Is that the Kamar Jackson fellow?
Yeah, so we found Kamar for our program with Cantech. And then when we were interviewing him and we were learning about who he is, what he's done, we saw this cybersecurity history that he has for the University of the West Indies. And, we started throwing ideas out. They kind of started bouncing off each other. And we combine that with the research we have. It just made so much sense. Like, there's such a big percentage of people in this sphere that need more training to actually have a chance. And we've got someone that has done it and can do it at a very high level.
Okay, great. Yeah, so just cybersecurity expert.
Yeah,
Really.
more or less.
Without him, what do you have?
Without him, we also have a front-end developer instructor. He can do full stack as well. It's more that the class at this point is now more so full stack. And we also have a data analytics instructor who can also do AI machine learning
that stuff. Excellent work, Marco. We have all learned a lot from this experience. Great work. Good luck in this pitch competition. You go backstage and we'll call you later in the afternoon.
Thanks. Thank you.
Last year, the world was taken by an AI storm. Everyone was talking about ChatGPT. Countless new problems and solutions have sprung up, and it feels like a gold rush of new tech solutions. This next team has jumped into the fray to enhance human interactions. Put your hands together for Aiden and Mike from Paim.
Thank you for the great introduction, and hello everyone. I'm Michael Kalpouzos, and alongside me is my co-founder Aiden Haran, and we're excited to introduce to you Paim, our AI-driven virtual receptionist, revolutionizing the way bookings and orders are managed in the hospitality industry. Meet Chef Lee. She's a small restaurant owner who struggles to answer all the phone calls she receives for takeout orders and reservations, a common issue in this fast-paced industry. This problem peaked for her one evening when a regular Sarah couldn't book a restaurant for her parents' anniversary due to the constantly busy line. This led to Sarah choosing another restaurant for her parents to go to. Lee realizes this is not only just lost business, but also a disappointing experience for Sarah and will affect her future visits. Unfortunately for Chef Lee's tight budget, she has no better option. The key issue we're addressing is the challenge restaurants face in managing calls for reservation and takeout orders, a task often handled inefficiently.
And despite the rise of digital platforms, surprisingly, about 42% of diners still prefer placing orders over the phone. Again, our research indicates that the average restaurant receives over 100 calls daily for orders and dozens of calls weekly for reservations, with a staggering 43% of those going unanswered. This represents a significant loss in potential revenue and customer engagement. To quantify, if just 20% of those missed calls are for food orders, averaging $25 each, a restaurant could lose roughly $6,000 per month, totaling an annual revenue loss of over $70,000.
Enter Paim. Our solution automates phone management, handling tasks such as reservations and order taking with ease. Operating 24/7, Paim ensures no call is ever missed, offering consistent, high-quality customer service. This is not just about managing calls. It's about enhancing customer experience and capturing every business opportunity.
In the back, our technology is leveraging OpenAI's advanced customizable GPT models, combined with their state-of-the-art speech-to-text capabilities and a user face that we're developing for all orders and reservations to be displayed to the restaurant. This integration enables our virtual hostess tool to deliver human-like performance in real time with customer interaction.
We offer 3 distinct pricing plans tailored to our clients' needs. The first plan, priced at $99 a month, covers up to 1,000 calls. For those requiring more, our second tier offers between 1,001 and 3,000 calls for $199. Finally, we provide a customizable plan for clients needing anything over 3,000 calls. Our profit margins per client depicted here are solid, with a revenue of $99 per month per client under our basic plan, assuming full utilization of the 1,000 calls from our client. Our maximum cost per client stands at $40. This number derived from extensive training boasts a cost of just 4 cents per call. This results in a profit margin of $59 per client. In over 3 months, this equates to around $177 per client, highlighting the financial viability and scalability of our service. Our target market we are targeting are small business restaurant owners who stand to benefit immensely from Paim by automating one of their most significant challenges. We offer them the freedom to focus on what truly matters, running their restaurant efficiently. Our sales strategy is multifaceted. We've established both connections with influential industry figures, like the president of the Korean Business Owners Association of Ontario, as well as actively engaging with restaurant owners through direct demonstration and targeting marketing efforts. Additionally, attending key industry events will be instrumental in expanding our network and future clientele.
Now let's take a look at our competitors. Considering the landscape dominated by platforms like OpenTable and Uber Eats, our tool offers a distinct advantage. These services primarily acting as middlemen, often overlook the specific needs of restaurants in their quest to connect customers to dining options. Our approach diverges significantly. We focus on prioritizing the restaurant's operational and customer service needs, filling a gap that the current market giants haven't addressed. When new customers aren't discovering your restaurant via these platforms, both options become costly, with OpenTable specifically ranging from $250 to $450 a month. This is particularly relevant in today's digital discovery environment, where platforms like Google lead restaurant discovery. Our tool is not just another marketplace option, it's a targeted solution crafted with the restaurant's unique challenges and opportunities in mind. To further emphasize the demand for our product, we can turn our attention to the United States, where the market already validates our concept. Two startups, Slang AI, which secured $20 million in Series A funding, and Reachify, are both tackling the same problem we are. However, with neither of them having any immediate plans to enter the Canadian market, we're presented with a prime opportunity to establish our foothold and capture significant market share ahead of future competition. Our team is anchored by myself and my colleague Michael. Both of us are alumni of St. Michael's and Queen's University. I hold a degree in computer engineering with a specialization in entrepreneurship and innovation, while Michael holds a degree in computer science and has further enhanced his profile with a business certificate from the Smith School of Business. In our venture, I lead the technical development of the product, whereas Michael steers the overall strategic direction of our company. Our distinct yet overlapping skills allow us to adopt a dynamic and collaborative approach to problem solving. Now, acknowledging our limited professional experience, we have actively sought the guidance from industry veterans. Michael Bakaic has been key in refining our concept within the competition. In addition to the advisors provided to us, we've reached out to Reno Capana, an expert in the tech industry who has a lengthy history of advising startups, including one with a valuation of over $1 billion. Most importantly, we've reached out to Che Kim, a restaurant owner and the head of the Korean Business Association of Ontario. They have been and continue to be instrumental in shaping our products and the company's development. Since our start in October, our journey with this company has been marked by significant progress and adaptability. We've continuously refined our concept, guided by feedback from multiple interviews with small business owners and extensive market research surveys. On the technical side, we've achieved 80% completion of our minimal viable product and are on track for restaurant trials by the end of February. We've achieved all of this with $0 of external funding.
With a product where the technology is easily copied, you might wonder what sets us apart. While we acknowledge our competitors, they are currently not positioned to integrate this concept into their business models and are unlikely to attempt it. Regardless, the true strength of our company lies not just in the technical complexity of our product, but in the depth of our ongoing engagement with both restaurants and customers. It's through the importance we place on these relationships that we're uniquely positioned to tailor and refine our offering, ensuring it truly meets their needs. Our immediate goal is to launch a test version of our MVP in restaurants by the end of February. This phase will be crucial in identifying and resolving any issues, as well as fine-tuning the product based on customer feedback. By spring, we aim to initiate our commercial rollout, targeting our first paying customers through promotional activities at the RC Show, a major nationwide restaurant convention in Toronto. Using our testers and customers, we plan on adding features to the product for a richer experience and be prepared to launch our product across Ontario by the end of the summer. If awarded the prize money, we plan a strategic allocation to propel our operations forward. Firstly, $2,000 will be allocated to develop and sustain our product's functionality during its crucial testing phase in restaurants. An additional $2,000 will be dedicated to extending our market research, allowing us to refine our product to meet the nuanced needs of customers, employees, and restaurant owners. We'll invest another $1,000 in travel expenses for valuable face-to-face meetings with restaurant owners all across Ontario. The majority of the funds, however, are designated for a pivotal opportunity at the RC Show, a major Canadian-wide restaurant convention in Toronto. And through our research, we have found that securing a booth at this event for $5,000 will enable us to effectively reach our target audience and early adopters, significantly boosting our product's market launch. If you have any further questions or want to reach out to us, please feel free to contact us at any of the information listed on this slide. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, Mike and Aiden, you've given us a lot to chew on. We're going to throw it over to the judges for Q&A. Davide?
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you for answering a lot of questions. One of the questions I had was, sometimes I get frustrated by technology where, you have this frustration that doesn't answer your question. What I want to understand is, you talk about one of your areas of difference is customer experience. Have you played around a little bit? I know you're at 80% of your MVP, but how does the technology plan to deliver that customer experience that is a differentiator? Because right now there's a lot of branch stuff that doesn't work very good. So I'd be curious to see, what are your thoughts? What are the gaps that you found in the market, and how will you address that? Because I'm just unclear on how it would be a customer experience differentiator so far.
Sure, yeah. I can take this question if you'd like, Michael. But we absolutely agree. The whole IVR branch system is frustrating to work with. How we plan on actually having this work is we're taking the customizable GPT model, and we're training it on transcripts with customer service and taking articles of best advice for customer service for receiving calls. And we're going to have it be able to actually have a conversation with you and understand your responses dynamically. In addition to that, we are going to make it so that when there is that frustration, you can't, if there is some bug that is causing issues with the customer is always going to be able to ask to be forwarded to the actual restaurant where you can have a server still pick up the call. This is supposed to lighten the workload on the restaurant servers and be able to work as a 24/7 hour service. But we know that technology doesn't always work perfectly. So we want to give that out option for when there is an issue that pops up.
And just to add on to that, we will be tracking all those calls in which they do go through to the restaurant, just to be able to understand where we can improve on and where the issue happens, so that we can make sure that in the future that issue does not happen again.
Mm-hmm. We're planning on having the product act as almost a conversation, where ideally we get it to the point where you almost can't tell that you're talking to any robot. It should be seamless, like you're talking to a person.
Thank you. Hey guys. So just to be clear, this is for reservations and for order taking?
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
So can you just walk me through how I would place an order with a restaurant and who's delivering it? How does the whole process work? It's all based on a phone call, never an app?
So there's going to be an app on the server side to display the information to them. We plan on integrating with their POS systems if they have one, but we're also going to offer one as a basic POS system so that the restaurant itself can see when the order comes through. But essentially our plan is you call up the restaurant, you say, hey, can I order a pizza? And the AI responds, of course. When would you like it? What's the name for the order? Now we're only doing takeout. We're not doing delivery. But
so pickup.
It's what's the for pickup? Sorry, for pickup. So what's the name on the order? The AI will confirm that they can message you at this phone number, and if not, then they'll ask for another way to contact you. So then they can, after the end of the phone call, they can send a text message as a confirmation of, hey, your order's been placed. This is where it's at. This is the expected time that it will take. We'll see you then, and give all the details for the order confirmation. But essentially, it's all going to be done over the phone. No app is needed to be downloaded by the customer calling the restaurant.
So your target market would probably be a little bit of older people, maybe someone who doesn't want to go through an app. Because a lot of people don't want to call the restaurant, right?
Definitely. So that was definitely an issue that we thought that potentially could occur. But we actually ended up doing our own research, and we put out a survey, and we found that people actually around our age demographic, below 24, 60% of them actually call over 50% of the time to book reservations specifically. So we found that this calling feature actually is not something that is usually only subjected to older populations. And we also know that restaurants, through these apps like Uber Eats and DoorDash, they boost the prices on these applications for both sides, for the consumer and for the restaurant side. They take percentages of the restaurant's earnings. So you constantly see restaurants offering free delivery or percentages off of the orders that you would have to do through phone calling. This is because it actually is beneficial to both sides. And we believe that this is something that could be crucial and brought back into the industry.
Mm-hmm. And these surveys that we've put out in terms of trying to get our own research of what's the demographic of people calling is actually corroborated by our conversations with restaurant owners. Specifically, Che Kim said that in her experience, a lot of the people booking through applications like OpenTable were actually an older demographic, not old demographic, but you're talking more about Gen X, millennial, where her younger demographics actually happened on places that were integrated quickly with Google, where that seems to be where young people are finding restaurants, which is why we said Google is really leading the restaurant discovery.
Will this replace OpenTable for the restaurant?
We hope that it replaces a market of open tables, but it's not going to replace OpenTable as a whole. In downtown cores, OpenTable has a market ad of being able to provide that restaurant discovery. When you have an abundance of restaurants in your area, OpenTable is great as working at that marketplace, and that's not something we're trying to compete with. We're not trying to be a marketplace, but we are thinking that in places where it's not as condensed as like downtown Toronto for restaurants, their market ad, their value add to restaurants is just not there. And that's why, but in Che Kim's 3 restaurants, the only one that she has using OpenTable is the one that's downtown. The 2 that are uptown in North York isn't even interested in using OpenTable, even though she already knows the system.
You just have to have the database of which tables are available at what time somewhere, right? The machine has to know which table is available in the time, so they have to have some kind of data.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. My question is, we talked a lot about OpenTable, DoorDash, Uber Eats, but what would you do if they decided to do something like this? Like AI is a pretty big trend right now, and you could easily see them putting some effort towards that. Like, what would be your plan to compete with them, and why? How would you be different?
Mike, do you want to take this? Or do you want me to?
You go ahead, Aiden.
I can take it. Essentially, there a couple of reasons why we don't see them initially trying to go for something like this is because it kind of, as we mentioned, it kind of goes against their business model, where their business model is all around connecting users to the restaurant. Like that's the reason why they have the app where you can discover the restaurants and that they're not just a plugin for Google. That's their value add, where this completely circumvents that. If someone is calling the restaurant, they're not using the app. It would take a large shift in their business model to actually approach this product. In addition, if they were to do that, we are still prepared, and we truly believe that by getting to the market share first and developing these strong relationships with restaurant owners, we're going to be able to better tailor our product to the restaurant owners that are actually going to be the ones paying, because we're not focused on all of these other aspects that OpenTable and Uber Eats are. We're able to truly tailor our product to the restaurant owners and create that relationship.
All right.
I really like this idea, and it really hits home for me because my parents owned a restaurant. They're retired now, but they could have certainly used a product like the one you're trying to develop right now. So I can appreciate how beneficial it could be to restaurant owners. My question is, what's your personal connection to this problem and the solution that you're building? And why are you the right people to build it?
Sure. Personally, our connection with Che Kim is long before this business. Che Kim it's actually the mother of one of my close friends that one of our close friends that we met at St. Mike's. And I've heard about their struggles for years with different struggles that they've had in the restaurant industry. My friend Shani, who works at his mother's restaurant sometimes, I've heard from him, and I've talked to him a lot about his job. On the technical side, we're both technical enthusiasts, and we are, as computer science and computer engineering, we were extremely excited by ChatGPT, and we saw the potential there, especially in its ability to communicate in a seemingly fluid way. And knowing that it's only going to get better, we wanted to hop on this technological advancement as soon as possible. So we weren't originally going for restaurants when we first came up with this idea. We saw the opportunity on the technology, and we were really excited by the technology. And then it was over time, we specialized our focus, and we realized the opportunity that really did exist in restaurants. And since then, we've been trying to understand everything we can and talking with whoever possible.
Just to quickly add on, I've also had extensive experience. I've worked with Cognizant in technical consulting, so I have a lot of experience with integrating systems of all sorts. So definitely am able to understand systems like a POS system and have the ability to integrate it with different types of software.
Thank you. If I could just ask a quick follow-up.
Sure.
From a language perspective, will it all be in English, or will you be able to handle other languages?
This is actually pretty cool that we're excited about, is that OpenAI's Whisper model can handle, I think, about 100 languages. I could be wrong on the specifics there, but it's essentially any major language. It's very capable of handling and translating to English real time. So it'll be able to handle most languages. It will struggle as you get into more niche languages, like the very niche ones, but anything that's commonly spoken in Canada, it will be able to handle with no problem.
Fantastic.
Michael, Aiden, thank you so much. This is wonderful. And just for like a very small subset, 9 times out of 9, I would call the restaurant. So thank you for that. I guess my question is around the analytics, right? There's a lot of value in what you're collecting with these calls and even the orders and the restaurants. Can you walk me through what offering will be provided back to the restaurants in terms of analytics?
Definitely, great question. We plan on doing analytics for restaurants through these phone calls, as we will be letting the customers being aware that they are being recorded, and which will allow us to have transcripts of these calls and allow us to show to restaurants what food orders are coming in, at what times they are coming in, at what days they are coming in, where it comes to food orders or reservations. This will allow restaurants to understand really when their clients are coming in, what their clients want, and just give a whole overall picture of their clientele base through phone calling. And we really feel like this would be able to be utilized by restaurants to a great extent, to be understanding of what food orders potentially are not being ordered, how to change the menu, what hours of operation that you should be working at. Since if a call comes in outside of operational hours, the restaurant a lot of times does not answer, but our 24/7 service will be allowed to understand at what time people want to come in, what time people want to order, and allow our restaurants, our customers, to know what potential revenue they are losing.
Thank you.
Yeah, we plan on capturing all of the data we can in a database, as we're going to need the database anyways for restaurant information, for orders, for tables, for schedules, all of that stuff. We plan on having that database also contain a lot of data points and data analytics for the restaurants that we do plan on sharing directly with them, because we do see how valuable that is to them and how much that really adds to their entire business.
And that is a very big differentiator from the other types of competitors that you have, right? And providing that nice model that they can utilize. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, Aiden, Mike, you've given us a real hot plate to chew on. I want you to stay by the phone, and we'll call you at the end of this show.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
At the heart of the Archangel's Den lies our unwavering belief in the power of we. Each mentoring relationship is a celebration of our shared legacy and commitment to social advancement. Our alumni mentors, with their diverse experiences and successes, do not merely advise. They collaborate, cooperate, and co-create, embodying the true spirit of St. Michael's College School. This initiative is a vivid demonstration of the strength and impact of our alumni network. It's a platform where individual successes are harnessed for collective good, where triumphs of our alumni become catalysts for wider societal progress. Charting a course for a better world, the Archangel's Den is more than a program, it's a movement. It represents a collective endeavor to not just foster business acumen, but to cultivate leaders who are attuned to the needs of society and the planet. St. Michael's College School, through this initiative, reaffirms its commitment to nurturing individuals who are not just academically proficient, but are also empathetic global citizens ready to contribute to a better, more connected world. This journey of mentorship and innovation at the Archangel's Den is a vivid reflection of our ethos, a belief in the transformative power of education and community to effect real change. In this shared mission, we find our true calling, living up to the legacy of St. Michael's College School as beacons of goodness, discipline, and knowledge.
Over the years, St. Michael's College School has produced hundreds of hockey stars. Today, we salute the boys that didn't make the pros, but instead became doctors, lawyers, musicians, IMF deputy directors, military commanders, and acclaimed cinematographers. For these all-stars made our world better.
Welcome, everyone, to the award ceremony of the 5th Annual Archangel's Den from St. Michael's College School. This event has been brought to you by our title sponsor, Downing Street Partnership. Before we dive into it, we throw to a quote for some words of wisdom. Faulkner said, "Let's not compete against our contemporaries or predecessors. Just look to be better than yourself." Hold that with you. Now, there's 3 prizes that we're giving away tonight. 3rd place, $1,500 for the venture to advance their new mission. 2nd place, $3,500 to reward a great pitch and great rebuttal with the judges. And the grand prize, $10,000, going to the victorious venture to really kick off their new business. Let's begin with the awards. We start with 3rd place. This award goes to a team that really got into it with the question and answers with the judges. We pushed them on their business model and trying to find whether there is a legitimate go-to-market strategy here. And the judges were meaningfully impressed. The 3rd place prize, $1,500, goes to Aiden and Mike from Paim. Okay, now we're up to the 2nd place prize, $3,500. This was one of our longer sessions with the judges really diving into what makes this company and their founders tick. 2nd place in the 5th Annual Archangel's Den competition goes to Luke Gazdic with Mitts Off. This is where we're going to bring the lights down, build up the suspense as we have our big grand prize winner, 1st place, and a $10,000 check to really launch this company on their mission. The winner of the 5th Annual Archangel's Den is Chasing Antarctica with Connor Emeny. Congratulations, Connor. We hope you really take over the world with this.